You're watching the home of the Super Bowl, America's sports leader, NBC. This is the NFL on NBC with host Greg Gumbel and co-host Ahmad Rashad.
Rich Stadium outside of Buffalo is the site of a key AFC game as the 4-3 Bills host the AFC's best team, the 6-1 Denver Broncos. It's been an eventful 24 hours for the Broncos, who were snowed in Denver for most of the day yesterday. Finally made it to their hotel in Buffalo at 1 a.m. Eastern time this morning. And the kickoff will take place as scheduled at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our studios in New York. Along with Chris Collinsworth and Sam Weish, I'm Greg Gumbel. Ahmad Rashad and Joe Gibbs will join us shortly. Let's get right to the big early game of our doubleheader. The 6-1 Denver Broncos, the 4-3 Buffalo Bills. The big story of the last 24 hours has been the travails of the Broncos. A blizzard hit Denver on Friday and brought much of the region to a standstill. Starting Friday night, not one flight left Denver International Airport until Saturday night. The Broncos gathered at their practice facility, then boarded buses to get to the airport. Several players got to the practice facility by way of snowmobile. The Broncos charter finally left Denver at 7:54 p.m. Mountain Time and arrived in Buffalo in the wee hours this morning. We pick up the story by going live to Buffalo and Tom Hammond. Tom.
All right, Greg, thank you very much. As you mentioned, it was about 1 o'clock by the time the Broncos got to their hotel. They had a quick bite to eat, then went right to bed, passing their normal meetings, going on to bed. They did get an extra hour's sleep with the time change. Wake-up calls were for 8 a.m., and by 9, the first bus was rolling toward the stadium. The second bus arriving here carried quarterback John Elway and got here, as you see, just before 10 o'clock. And when the bus carrying Coach Mike Shanahan arrived at Rich Stadium, Randy Cross was there to meet it.
Mike, sort of uncharted territory for you and the Broncos coming in here today. How have you planned on handling this whole situation with a late arrival and whatnot?
I think we handled it pretty well. We had some distractions. We were able to get everybody over at the facility with a second time frame. Initially, we talked about getting over there at 1. It was just a little bit too tough for our whole football team to get there, so we pushed it back to 3:30. We had to deal with the elements, but we got a good night's sleep, and hopefully we'll be ready to go.
And Randy joins us live on the field now, and I guess just assembling the team was quite an adventure.
Well, exactly. It was Denver's excellent adventure yesterday in Denver with that snowstorm. You had players like Tim McKyer and Gary Zimmerman have their cars get stuck and have to walk in the snow with their luggage to get to the facility. You had Steve Atwater getting there on a snowmobile. The best story, though, was kicker Jason Elam. The local NBC affiliate in Denver announces that Jason Elam is stuck at County Line Road in I-25, and will somebody please go get him? They get 200 phone calls. Elam gets to the facility. It all works out fine. You know, from a coach's standpoint, it was a lost day, though. No meetings, no practice. You couldn't really do much on that flight in the wait. From a player's standpoint, you got to think, hey, I've sat with that loss for 1 week to Oakland last week. I'm mad about that. They've broken my routine. I'm mad about that. You know, I look for a Broncos team to come out here focused and fired up and ready to take it out on the Bills. Tom?
All right, Randy, we will see. And how about this for a touch of irony? The Broncos come to Buffalo, of all places, for good weather. With the bad stuff maybe following them in, we expect rain before the day is over. And that's it from balmy Buffalo. Greg?
Tom, rain is a relief after what the Broncos have been through. Thank you both, guys. The Broncos situation certainly is unusual, but not without precedent. James Lofton went through a similar experience when he played for the Packers, and he joins us from the Meadowlands with more. James.
That's right, Greg. If you play long enough, you go through all of it. And it happened when I was in Green Bay. I was supposed to play against the Chicago Bears. A short plane ride, correct? No. We're fogged in. Finally, we're leaving at 1 o'clock. At 6 o'clock in the evening, they finally call for the buses. 2 hours later, the buses show up. 8 o'clock, 5-hour bus ride down to Chicago. Check in the hotel after 1 a.m. for a noon game the next day. Of course, we're ready to play. We tied the ball game at 7-7. Final score, 61-7. So I blame it on the weather. Greg?
All right, James, we won't blame your preparation on it. It doesn't always work out that way for the team encountering travel difficulties. With more, we go to Will McDonough. Will.
Greg, thanks very much. My story is a little bit different than James Lofton. I was talking to the Bills owner, Ralph Wilson, yesterday, and he said back in 1975, the Buffalo Bills had a game in St. Louis with the Cardinals. The day before the game, they flew out of Buffalo. There was bad weather through the Midwestern part of our country, and they were forced to land in Chicago. they had to get up the day of the game in Chicago while still snowing and fly into St. Louis 3 hours before kickoff. Because they were late, the players actually changed into their uniforms at the airport and got on the bus in their uniform. Meanwhile, all the coaches are complaining, we can never win today, we're out of our pregame routine. The Bills won 32-14. Back to you, Greg.
All right, Will, thanks. We heard Mike Shanahan call it a distraction, but what does a coach do when the normal routine is disrupted as it has been for the Broncos?
Well, he immediately goes to his players and tries to convince them that it's an inconvenience, not a distraction. And don't ask me the difference because they're the same thing. But really, they only lost a couple of hours in terms of time. They did lose the chance to have an evening meeting the night before, but I think one factor might be as much as any. They sat on that tarmac in that airplane for like an hour and 15 minutes to an hour and a half. They're probably going to get up a little stiff. If I'm the coach, I'm telling them to get up a little bit early, take a walk, move around, get the kinks out.
Sam, I disagree. I think that it's a little bit bigger deal than what everybody has been making this thing out to be, simply because from a player standpoint, I always felt like Saturday was my most important day. It was finally a day that you got to get off your feet, stretch out, relax a little bit, take it easy. Even if you were traveling on the road, it was a time just to sort of get yourself back together. So here they are, they're on snowmobiles, they're driving there, they're on the bus, they're on the airplane, long flight, the whole thing. This is a much bigger deal than what everybody's saying.
Well, I'm not saying that it's a good deal. This is not something you plan, but I'm saying that at kickoff, that adrenaline kicks in, all of that stuff is history. They play football.
I got news for you. An hour and 15 on the plane is nothing if you've ever flown out of New York. That's a piece of cake. But do the Buffalo Bills feel better about themselves coming into this game?
Absolutely. They're a big underdog coming into this game. They were probably sitting around watching the World Series last night, watching your updates on what's happening with this other team's airplane, thinking, you know what, we have a much better chance to win this game. They're feeling good right now coming into this.
Okay, there's no truth to the rumor that Mike Shanahan let them watch the Buffalo Indy game from last Monday night to help them get some extra sleep that way.
A little truth.
Yeah. Second half of our doubleheader today features a big game in the AFC Central. Jacksonville at Pittsburgh. Both teams are 5-2. They played a Monday night thriller 5 weeks ago. The Steelers lined up for a winning field goal in the final seconds.
There's the snap. It's low. The placement. The kick is blocked. It's blocked. The Jaguars have won it. The Jaguars have picked the ball up, racing down the sideline. There he goes. They're going to score. Touchdown, Jacksonville. Unbelievable.
On the heels of that unbelievable game, the rematch today. With a report, we go to Phil Simms and Paul McGuire in Pittsburgh. Gentlemen.
All right, thank you, Greg. Not a pretty day here in Pittsburgh. A little rainy. Temperatures at game time are expected to be in the low 40s. Rain and wind and breezy, 10 to 20 mile-an-hour winds. And Paul talking to Tom Coughlin yesterday, this should not affect his game plan.
It should have better not. He is really upset. He said, our team has not been aggressive on the road for the last 2 years. Now, being aggressive doesn't mean that they're going to run the football. They love to throw the football. If they attack Deion Sanders, the best corner in football, a week ago, what makes you think they're not going to attack Cornell Lake, who is a converted safety to corner? But look what the Pittsburgh defense has done since Cornell went over to corner the last 2 weeks. Down 11 points.
Well, Pittsburgh, talking to Bill Cowher yesterday, he hopes that Jacksonville comes out and tries to throw the football because he believes the crowd noise really helps his pass rush here at home. The case in point, 2 times Jacksonville has played here, they've given up 13 sacks. You talk about Pittsburgh's offense. I don't think the rain is going to stop the number 1 rushing offense in Jerome Bettis here today. And yesterday, I think Greg Lloyd summed it up best for the Steelers, their feelings. He said, Jacksonville's coming in here. They hope to win the game. Pittsburgh, we expect to win the game. Greg, back to you.
All right, guys, thanks very much. So as Phil and Paul alluded to, the Pittsburgh defense, the spotlight is on that unit today, Sam?
It is, and I think maybe the most valuable player on that defensive unit is number 37, Cornell Lake. Here's a guy that at UCLA was a linebacker, drafted by the Steelers. They moved him to strong safety where he prefers to play, but because of need, he moved to cornerback. And with pure speed, as we see against the Cincinnati Bengals, Carl Pickens catches the ball and is on their way to getting back in the ballgame a week ago, but watch the speed of Cornell Lake and watch the presence of mind to strip the ball loose. Nothing for the Bengals, and the Steelers go on to win that. I think this is a guy, the Lake effect has a play here.
Yeah, no question about it that this Pittsburgh defense has been much better with Cornell Lake playing corner. But this Jacksonville team with Jimmy Smith and Keenan McCardle, they can throw the football on anybody. Over 300 yards the first time these two teams got together. The big question in my mind is, can they stop Jerome Bettis? With Kevin Hardy, their best run defender, out with an injury for this particular ballgame, I think Jerome Bettis is just going to take over.
Okay, snow in Denver, rain in Pittsburgh. That concludes the weather portion of our show. Let's go over to Ahmad.
No, it doesn't. See, about this weather thing, let me tell you what happened one time in Minnesota. We had a blizzard, and everybody was stranded, we walked to the airport. Got to the airport, plane wouldn't go. We walked all the way to Green Bay, whooped them, walked back.
Yeah, I'm with you, Ahmad. I believe you.
And that's exactly the way I remember it. One of the big NFC games today is Minnesota and Tampa Bay. Both teams are 5-2. Vikings coach Dennis Green made some comments in his recently released book indicating he wants to purchase a share of the team and will sue if he's not allowed to. For more, we go back to Will McDonough. Will.
Ahmad, thanks very much. Let me tell you right now, Dennis Green is in big trouble in Minnesota. Last night I talked to one of their owners who wanted to stay anonymous about what he had to say, but he had some tough things to say about Dennis Green. First of all, he thought Dennis Green, his remarks in the books, has breached his contract with the Vikings, and that is grounds for termination of contract. This owner was particularly upset because he said team president Roger Hedrick didn't know this was coming and was really blindsided by the report. I asked this Viking owner, what do you think will happen now? He says, I think there'll be a meeting sometime in the coming week, and we'll probably take a vote on whether to fire Dennis Green or not. Let's talk about another Green in the National Football League, Kevin Green, now at the 49ers. Earlier this year, he was released by Carolina, but Carolina has not let go of him yet. They went to an arbitration hearing this week, and Carolina is asking for Kevin Green to pay them back $650,000. But beyond that, General Manager Bill Polian, in his testimony before the arbitrator, said Kevin Green is one of the reasons his team has played so poorly this year, because Kevin Green left them in the lurch. They thought he was going to play, and when he won at the beginning of the season, they didn't have time to adjust their defense. Now back to you, Ahmad.
All right, thanks, Will. And did I mention we wore no gloves on that walk to Green Bay? Anyway, here's a look at the rest of our show.
Still to come, we'll hear from 40-year-old Warren Moon, who has the Seattle Seahawks moving in the right direction. We'll meet the new starting quarterback of the New York Giants, Danny Cannell. One of the best coaches in football is Pittsburgh's Bill Cowher. He'll talk about today's big game with Jacksonville. And we'll have the story of Broncos running sensation Terrell Davis when the NFL on NBC continues.
Baltimore versus Washington used to mean the Colts and the Redskins, but nowadays it's the Ravens and the Redskins. Washington is 3-0 in its new home, Jack Kent Cooke Stadium. With a report, let's go to Bob Trumpy.
Ahmad, you guys have been dealing with the nightmarish road trip of the Denver Broncos to Buffalo. No such problem for the Baltimore Ravens today. Consider that last night they stayed at a hotel in Baltimore that they generally stay in before home games. Vinny Testaverde and his teammates got on the buses at 9:02 this morning. Yes, there was raining, but you don't see any snowdrifts. 33 miles to the stadium they're now calling Big Jack. Inside the Washington Redskins await Tony Siragusa, rested, comfortable, dressed casually. And Greg, I want you to pass along a message to Ahmad. Paul Brown made us walk to a game one time in the snow, no gloves. We walked to and from the game, and it was uphill both ways.
Consider it delivered, Trump. Thank you. Let's move from Washington, D.C. to Washington State, where later today the Seattle Seahawks host the Oakland Raiders. It's a key game for both teams. Oakland is 3-4, Seattle 4-3. The Seahawks have won 4 of their last 5 under 40-year-old quarterback Warren Moon. Randy Cross spoke with the oldest player in the NFL.
Back in March, you signed as a free agent. You could pretty much pick where you wanted to go in a lot of cases. Well, why Seattle?
I think Seattle for a few reasons. I think, first of all, where it is. It was a place where we thought about wanting to settle down when I got done playing the game. And then just looking from the football side, I think just looking at what the football organization was doing as far as the free agent market, going after their free agents aggressively, guys like Chad and Willie Williams and Benny Blades. And so from a football standpoint, I thought this would be a good place also to finish.
Okay, now your first game as a Seattle Seahawk, you're in Canton, Ohio, playing the Minnesota Vikings in the Hall of Fame game. Did you kind of figure out whereabouts that Warren Moon bust would look good?
I saw a lot of different spots they could just kind of squeeze it in there, and hopefully that will happen for me one day. If it doesn't, it doesn't, but it'd be a great icing, to a career if I was to be inducted into the Hall of Fame.
It's a great situation that we have right now. If John happened to go down, or if something happened, Warren Moon's going to step in, and you're not going to lose a step at all.
You come to Seattle with the understanding you're going to be a backup. John Freese goes down with a broken thumb, and you're just thrown into that Jets game.
Well, you know, Randy, in this game, you never know what's going to happen. You always have to be prepared, and really kind of shocked me because here I am wondering where I'm going to be on the sidelines, which hat I'm going to wear while I'm standing on the sideline. Am I going to have a headset on or not? All these different things are going through my mind for this first game, and all of a sudden I'm thrust in there as the guy.
Seahawks first-round selection this year, Sean Springs from Ohio State. He's 3 years old when you started in the CFL as a professional. Do you look around sometimes and say, what am I doing here?
I do. I really do, because you know, Sean Springs, I played against his dad, Ron Springs, with the Cowboys for many years, and I've talked to Ron many times since he's been up here visiting, and just to see that I'm playing with his son, I mean, that's kind of remarkable in itself. But I'm really proud of the fact that I'm still able to play at this age and still able to perform the way I am.
The fire still burns.
If you weren't to win a championship, would it be all right?
I guess it would have to be all right. It would be something that I definitely wish that I had been able to do while I was playing, especially as long as I played, because even though I have won championships on other levels, you know, this is the ultimate, and you'd love to win the ultimate as a player.
Oh, in the middle of that piece, the opening chords, Neil Young, Old Man, Take a Look at My Life. Here's a guy who's 2 years older than you are, and you've been retired 8 years.
Yeah, but he doesn't have to deal with you, so he has some real advantages in life. Oh, thank you very much for that. You know, but I like what's happening in Seattle right now. Here's a team, they're basically playing a run and shoot, I think, to make Warren Moon comfortable. 4 wide receivers. But the big story out there is this Seattle defense. After giving up 76 points the first 2 games of the season, both of those losses, in the last 5 games, just 3 touchdowns, they're really on the move in Seattle.
Sam.
2 good teams with average records with that, what might have been kind of seasons. But I think the Oakland Raiders, with Jeff George, one of the best quarterbacks in the game, Napoleon Cobb, one of the best running backs, well-stocked defense. All of that said, if they lose today, that big win against Denver, out the window. They got the horses to do it, though.
Yeah, Warren Moon on one side, Jeff George, the top-rated quarterback in the AFC, on the other. We'll be right back.
Still to come, the Steelers' fiery coach Bill Cowher talks about today's big game with Jacksonville. And we'll hear from the AFC's leading rusher, Terrell Davis, on his special relationship with his mom. But up next, the new guys starring on Broadway, Giants quarterback Danny Kanell. This is the NFL on NBC. Once again, here's Greg Gumbel.
And we welcome you back as we take a look at some of the other games around the league, beginning with the Battle of Missouri. Kansas City and St. Louis. The Chiefs are 5-2, and the Rams, Sam, can't score points. They just can't score touchdowns.
Not only that, they've got a lot of things going against them going into this game. Lawrence Phillips has a pulled groin, your favorite injury. Their best receiver, Eddie Kinnison, pulled groin, your favorite injury again. And Leslie O'Neal on the other side has just a foot. He's not as bad an injury. But on the other side, 9 days to prepare the Kansas Cities with 3 good running backs. Long day for St. Louis.
I always hated when I pull my groin. What is that?
Huh?
Groin.
Whatever.
That's very good.
I'm from Atlanta.
Tony Banks and company, they've really been struggling, Greg, on the offensive side of the football, though. He's starting to hear the boo birds, and now Derek Thomas healthy for the Kansas City Chiefs. It's not going to get any easier today.
Not a lot of good news for St. Louis, I guess. Anyway, San Francisco's at New Orleans. Since the Niners lost Jerry Rice the opening week, they have won 6 in a row, Chris.
And J.J. Stokes and Terrell Owens basically making plays that I don't think they would have ever had the opportunity to make if Jerry Rice had been there all along. Now they've been forced into the situation where in clutch situations, they're throwing them the football. And right now, San Francisco has the balance they've never had with the wide receivers and with the running game.
Sam, let me ask you a question that everybody's asking Mike Ditka. What about New Orleans?
I've got a couple of letters from Mike this week. Want to know how I was doing here.
Mike, swap with you.
I don't want to swap right now. I'll tell you, I don't. Mike said that he would not let this get under his skin. This is the big test this week.
All right, the main attraction Monday night is Green Bay at New England. This is a rematch of Super Bowl 31, and for all the platitudes we've been sending New England's way, Patriots have suddenly lost 2 of their last 3.
And their schedule gets very tough in the next month or so. But you just have to wonder now, if Glenn Foley could pick apart this New England defense the way that he did a week ago, what's Brett Favre and company going to do coming into this football game? And Sam, I've got to ask you, though, Mike Holmgren made the decision during the bye week to give his team an entire week off, 6 straight days. That's really unprecedented in this league.
I would never do that, never did do that, because I didn't want the guys to get out of the rhythm of the season. You know, they get a certain ritual going on. Plus, you don't know where these guys are going to go. They're probably not going to come come back rested, a lot of them. They're going to go back home, visit family. It's a tough decision, and the only way we're going to find out if it's the right one is how they play today.
All right, the other Monday night game is Chicago at Miami, a game delayed by a day because of the World Series, and I imagine the Bears would like to delay it forever. They're 0-7.
Well, they're coming into this ball game, though. At least they've got Curtis Conway back. They're going to have Eric Kramer in there throwing the football, so I guess they think they've got their best foot forward.
Sam, for the first time all season, the Miami Dolphins finally have a running game now. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar over 100 yards. If this team gets the running game to go with Dan Marino and the way this defense is playing, they may go on a run.
The Bears are the bad news Bears. Stay with us. Our NFL NBC coverage continues.
In the Meadowlands today, the NFC East leading New York Giants host the free-falling Cincinnati Bengals. With a report, back to James Lofton.
Well, Greg, the big news around the Giants camp this week was that rookie running back Tiki Barber might be back in action. He's missed 3 ball games. I saw him at practice on Friday. He looked fast, he looked strong, he looked healthy. Jim Fossil says, I'm going to give him another week to get really, really ready. And so the running game falls into the lap of Tyrone Wheatley. 2 weeks ago, Wheatley had a 100-yard ball game. Last week against the Lions, 13 carries, 16 yards. Does Fossil panic? No, he turns to blocking back Charles Way. Way has had over 90 yards the last 2 weeks. If you want to run the ball game, if you want to run the ball, you play against the Cincinnati Bengals. They are 30th in the league against the run. And this week, they only have 4 defensive linemen who are healthy. You know, Ahmad, if you pick up a couple more pounds, you could maybe play for the Bengals on the defensive line.
That James, man. You can catch him at the nearest comedy club. Anyway, with the Giants sitting atop the NFC East, the buzz on Broadway is new starting quarterback Danny Cannell. Now, last week against the Lions, he showed a knack for predicting things, which brings to mind another quarterback who was the talk of Broadway some 30 years ago.
Went to overtime, and we went out there, and Chris Calloway went out there for the coin toss, and when I saw that we won the toss, I went over to Corey Miller, who's one of our defensive leaders, and said to him, I kind of looked at him, and I said, hey, you can pack it in for the day. I said, we're going to go out there and take care of our business. In the third play, when I got the call, I knew it was a touchdown play if we could get it off.
Cannell fakes the handoff to Way, looking. Deep post, instead throws deep sideline, caught by Callaway, still on his feet, to the 40, 30, 20, 10, 5, touchdown, there is a flag.
First thing I did, I took a knee and was praying, please don't be against us.
And it's a touchdown for the Giants.
Feel like Broadway Joe?
I don't know if Broadway quarterback's good for me because I'm not real flashy. I'm not the type of guy, but I'm going to try to keep doing the same things I've been doing.
Not real flashy, huh? You tell the defense, don't worry, you won't be coming back on the field for overtime here. You get in the huddle and say, if you guys block, I'm throwing a touchdown pass. Not real flashy.
That's optimism.
Dan Cannell Sr. is the Florida Marlins and Miami Dolphins team physician. For 23 years, he was also the New York Yankees team doctor. That's where Danny became friends with one of his father's patients.
Reggie Jackson was back when he was in his prime with the Yankees, and he had to have surgery, and he couldn't find a hotel room or something, so he decided to stay at our house for a week. And we got to pal around, we went swimming, he'd throw me around in the pool, and we'd watch TV together. And I was playing t-ball at the time, and so he gave me a couple batting tips, and he actually came to a game and sat in the car with my dad because he didn't want to get swamped with autographs, and it was my turn to bat, and I came up and hit a home run. So he said to my dad, he said, hey, Doc Cannell, he said, I got to go out and shake his hand. So he comes running out, and as soon as I'm touching home plate, he's right there to shake my hand, and the whole place is going nuts. All the kids are going crazy, and it was just a really special moment for me, as a kid growing up.
Do you, as a young quarterback, have to prove your toughness to this team? I mean, here I look at you and as a doctor's kid, silver spoon in your mouth. I mean, your kid had everything. Reggie Jackson high-fived him when he hit a home run in T-ball. Do you have to, in some ways, overcome all that?
I don't think so. I mean, I think it's something I've dealt with all my life, and I think that people just realize that that's not what I'm about. The thing that's been a pleasant surprise for me is a lot of guys didn't even know where I came from. They didn't know my dad was a doctor, and that's the biggest compliment to me is saying, that I'm still just an ordinary person.
Well, he is a mild-mannered man, but don't be fooled. His teammates all say he has it, whatever it is. Well, I guess he's got it, and Dave Brown doesn't. We'll be right back.
Coming up, Steelers coach Bill Cowher talks about last month's frustrating loss in Jacksonville as his team gets ready for today's big rematch.
The Staples Coach of the Week. Bugles Raiders were the first NFL team to beat the Denver Broncos this year when they took a 28-25 victory last Sunday at home. The winning school is Cleveland Elementary School in Oakland, California. It'll be receiving $5,000 in school supplies from Staples, the office superstore. Let's get back to our big late game, Jacksonville and Pittsburgh. Steelers head coach Bill Cowher has led the Steelers to the playoffs in every one of his 5 seasons. During that time, he's had to contend with free agent losses as much as anybody. Sam White spoke with the Steelers' fiery leader.
There are a lot of new faces, and you can't overestimate, what that's going to create. It's going to create maybe indecision. It's going to create some hard times. But, the one thing going through a training camp with is there's a good chemistry on this team. There's a closeness. There's a resolve. And I've talked about with our team a lot that you just see a will to win.
Look like you run that before. Good job, Flash.
You made a tough call when you put Cordell Stewart in there, made him your quarterback. Exactly when did you decide this is the way we have to go?
Well, we went through the off-season program, and I think made the call right before we went to training camp. And I think the one guy that had a chance to be something special was Cordell. And when you get around this guy, there's something that he has an intangible. He's a winner, and he's got that feel about him. He's got that look about him and a presence about him as a quarterback that he's a natural leader. But it was important, I think, for Cordell's development that he knew that he was the guy, whether he's going to have success, whether he's going to have a tough game. I was not going to put him in a situation where he's going to question himself.
Well, the coming out party for Cordell Stewart. He got a kiss from Bill Cowher.
You're an emotional coach from that sideline as opposed to the way I was. I was a very stoic, stand around, do nothing.
Wake up! You're looking at me like I'm not even talking. You're not hearing me.
You look like you're having a blast out there on the sideline. Is that true?
Yeah, it is, Sam. I think I've not been very good at hiding emotions, and that's something I think that you got to be yourself. I think that's the thing that you can't lose sight of. And it's an emotional game, and I think if you can't show your emotions, then you're in the wrong business.
There's the snap. It's low. The placement. The kick is blocked. It's blocked. The Jaguars have won it.
And Chris Hudson picks the ball up, going down the sideline. I happen to notice, I just noticed you standing there. Your knuckles got all white. I don't know what that's about. What went through your mind as he was passing right in front of you?
Well, to be honest, when the ball was blocked, I knew it was the last play of the game. The ball started bouncing toward me, and I was going to be like, Charlie Brown, just go kick the ball, and I was upset, and all of a sudden I realized that there was a player coming to pick it up, and ran back off the sideline, and he ran real close, and the thought crossed my mind, just, hey, the game's over, why the heck you picking up the ball, and so it was a frustrating ending to almost a great comeback.
If it were to happen again, just on the outside chance, here goes Chris Hudson down the sideline again. Is there any reason that you were wearing this football helmet at practice today? I don't want to bring anything that the commissioner would, give you a little phone call about. But
I'm going to be the first person that goes up to Chris Hudson. I've watched him play football. He's a pretty hard hitter, and I don't want him mad because I'm not so sure I would have been able to take him down anyway.
And the Jaguars have beaten the Steelers! Unbelievable!
It was frustrating, but I really think that night that we grew up as a football team. I think that night in Jacksonville, we had an identity. And as I stated before, it's a resolve, a will to win that I saw on this football team that I think united us. When that game was over, I felt a lot better about our football team than I did going in.
Well, the thing that jumps out at you about Bill Cowher is he is a very fiery coach, but it seems to fit the personality of his team. Let's go out to North Carolina and ask Joe Gibbs what his take is on Bill Cowher.
Ahmad, it's obvious you can have all kinds of personalities on the sidelines. Think back to a Landry or Walsh and those poses on the sideline, or in my case, I was just scared to death. I was too scared to show emotion. And then on the other side, we have guys like Madden and Ditka, and now Cowher run up and down the sideline, kissing people and everything. But I think the most important thing that impresses me about Bill Cowher, he has a feel. He seems to make the right moves at the right time with his quarterbacks, with people on that team. He's got a lot of free agents leaving. He has a good feel, and that's the one thing you got to have as a coach.
All right, thanks, Joe. Sam, what kind of coach were you? Where did you fit in there?
I was stoic and violent. I don't know. I was somewhere in between all of that, depending on whether we were ahead or behind. But let me tell you about Bill Cowher. This guy has tremendous respect from the team. He handles the players right. But this started with the Rooney family throughout the organization. A relatively low-budget football team with a lot of turnover, but the consistency is that he's the defensive coordinator, basically. When Dom Capers was there, Dick LeBeau, the system stayed the same. I think this team's going to continue to win with this guy.
You were also cerebral.
Yeah, that too.
We'll be back in just a moment.
Coming up, Neil O'Donnell starts for the Jets next week while Glenn Foley returns to the bench. We'll debate Bill Parcells' decision next. The NFL on NBC is brought to you by American Express. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, American Express helps you do more. By Radio Shack, you've got questions, we've got answers. And by PlayStation, a bit of advice for gamers everywhere. Never underestimate the power of PlayStation.
Let's talk about some of the other games today. A big game in the NFC Central. Both Minnesota and Tampa Bay are 5-2. The Bucs have lost 2 in a row. They were off to a quick start, but this has happened before in Tampa.
Well, let's review when it happened last time that they won a string at the end of the season and then started out 5-2. They fired the coach.
Who was that coach?
Well, I know from my family knows real well who that was. Actually, this is a team that does start fast. This game, along with the next couple of games, are going to decide this season, not the 5-2 start.
All right, Sam. Dallas is at Philadelphia. The Cowboys are 4-3. The Eagles 3-4. Dallas was lucky to win the first meeting on a botched field goal attempt. They may have a new savior in Dallas. However, Herschel Walker came up big.
And don't forget, Herschel was the MVP on this offense for Philadelphia twice before they cut him, so he's fired up and ready to go in this one. But I also like what Herschel has done for this offense along with Eric Bjornsson. We talked about the problems that the Cowboys have had with the blitz. Last week, Bjornsson and Herschel Walker, 9 receptions on those short little dump-off passes. Didn't get Troy Aikman hurt in the football game. I think he's really added something.
Okay, don't go away. We have something to talk about here. The New York Jets have a bye this week, but it was an eventful week nonetheless. That's because Neil O'Donnell was pulled last Sunday against the Patriots and replaced by Glenn Foley, who led the Jets to victory.
There you go. Touchdown. Glenn Foley, 11 straight completions.
13 consecutive passes could be the nail in the coffin of number 14, the guy standing over on the sideline. That's 14 in a row. Foley's directing the ship now, but he's giving you guys the best chance to win.
But despite Foley's heroics, Bill Parcells named Neil O'Donnell as his starter next week against Baltimore.
The team played almost a flawless half of football. And, you know, it's on the film, and it's pretty evident what happened. But again, it probably wasn't good enough. I mean, I didn't complete every pass, and I still got some work to do.
I'm not telling you what my thinking was. I told you I thought I'd do what was best. I'm not going to explain it, tell you what the process was or anything else. See, I know where this all goes, and I'm going to keep it from going there. Okay? So I know where it goes. Because I know one question leads to another about this and that and this and that and the situation. Here's the situation. Get it straight. O'Donnell's starting against the Ravens. Foley's ready to go. Period. Okay? And it doesn't need to be discussed any further.
Bill Parcells not making a whole lot of friends among the local media with the way he handled the announcement, but he's made the decision, and the question, Sam, is, do you agree with it?
The spark worked. They won the ball game against the New England Patriots. The situation, not the controversy, the situation that follows is if Neil O'Donnell has a slow part of a ball game, do the fans start to react? Do the players start to react and look around to see? And the way the players do it, they don't do it by looking around. They next stay still, their eyes move left to right, wondering if Neil O'Donnell's coming out of there.
That's exactly right, and that's my whole point in this thing. I think Glenn Foley should be getting a chance to play the game because right now Neil O'Donnell, he's going to be in the game, and every time he has a 3-and-out series, the fans are, come on, put in Foley. The players are going to start looking over at Bill Parcells. Come on, get this guy in there, instead of looking at themselves and saying, me, I've got to fix fix this thing. I have to go play harder. Glenn Foley, every time he's come in the game, in the preseason, he took the team from here to here. In the game the other day, from here to here. Why not give this kid a chance and take the pressure off of Neil O'Donnell?
We have our usual scenario here. Chris Collinsworth is wrong. He's on the wrong side. And we have Sam straddling the fence. He doesn't know where he wants to go.
That.
And I'm only one that's right here. Bill Parcells is right. Hey, you have a veteran and Neil O'Donnell. It's a big deal when you set him down, okay? And I'll tell you what, Foley was great coming off the bench. Hey, not only that, Neil O'Donnell, hey, Chris has not even had a bad year. This guy's got 12 TDs and only 3 interceptions. I tell you what, you got the perfect scenario. Let the veteran start. Bring Foley off the bench. Hey, let the fans scream. They're going to scream anyway. This is good for Parcells. He's got 2 good quarterbacks.
But O'Donnell has a bad arm anyway. He's only going to take half the snaps in practice this week as it is. Why not say, all right, just hide behind the bad arm. We're going to let Foley play for a couple of weeks here with the bye week and then next week, see what he can do. If he doesn't get it done, then go back to O'Donnell. He's got the perfect excuse here.
Why take that biggest step? Just go with O'Donnell. Let your veterans start and use the same scenario. Hey, it worked last week. It'll work again.
All right, Joe. So ends another session of the Sunday morning coffee clash. We'll take a timeout, and the NFL on NBC continues in just a moment.
Coming up, Terrell Davis of the Broncos is among the elite running backs in the NFL. We'll hear from him and his mom next.
Broncos quarterback John Elway warming up in Buffalo. It won't only be Buffalo fans cheering against Elway today at Rich Stadium because it's Cleveland Browns Fan Appreciation Day in Buffalo. Some 10,000 Cleveland fans have traveled the 90 miles from Cleveland to Buffalo to cheer against Elway and the Broncos, their bitter rivals from the late 1980s. Browns fans get their team back in 1999, but for today, they'll be in Buffalo. And speaking of Cleveland, the focus of the city is on tonight's World Series. Game 7 is in Miami. The Florida Marlins against the Cleveland Indians. The pitching matchup is 21-year-old Jarrett Wright against Al Leiter. Greg?
What a baseball guy you are, Ahmad. Despite their loss last week, the Denver Broncos are arguably the best team in football right now. And as we hit the halfway point of the season, the guy who's been maybe the NFL's best player has been running back Terrell Davis.
There's a quote from John Elway earlier this season. Yeah, I'm sure you have. First of all, what was your reaction when you heard that?
I didn't think he said that at all. I thought someone may have misquoted him or something, but apparently he did. But I think what's happened is that, John's still the leader of this team, and I think that we have a running game that's pretty much going to bounce with the passing game. If you can ride the running game as long as you can, and then pass when you need to, I think John's all for that.
Do you see defenses specifically gearing up for you these days?
Yeah. Which is kind of cool. I mean, you never thought when you come to the league that people would sit there and during preparation talk about Terrell Davis, and I've heard that from some of my friends on other teams when they talk about what they studied this week. So it's kind of fun. It's kind of cool, and I think that I'm ready for the challenge.
Has the success gone to your head at all?
I don't think so. Probably not. I see myself as the same person that I was 3 years ago.
And if you were to change, what would your mom do to you?
She would kill me. My mother would be the first one to let me know, first of all.
So how's your wrist?
It's okay. Loosen up a little bit today.
Of course, I'm always yelling at the other players, especially when they step on him and they hit him hard.
She just moved here recently. Why did she do that?
Well, I think it was both of our decisions. I think she wanted to leave San Diego, and I wanted her to be closer to me. I figured that these are really the prime times of my life. I think these are the days that I'm going to cherish most, playing football, and I'm having a ball. So I wanted to share that with my mom. Make the best chicken.
Oh, well, good. Good, he thinks so. Everybody thinks their mom is the best cook, though.
She's the best cook. She's the best cook ever.
First guy over 200 yards, and obviously game ball for TD and the offensive line.
And there's a lot of salute going on here by the men in blue.
What does Mom think about the Mile High salute?
Well, she's all, it's funny. My mother calls me up, and I think she saw some other teams doing it. Terrell, they stole your salute.
I think everybody's stolen it. I think it's very nice, and now they need to just turn around one day and just salute their audience.
What do you think about other teams doing it?
I think once you do something in the NFL, it's going to catch on and people are going to do it. I mean, like that, what is that? Push it up? I don't know what that is. But I mean,
Raise the roof.
Raise the roof. I mean, how many people you see doing that?
Lots.
Okay, so
Lots.
I think once you get something that's kind of catchy, it's kind of slick, you know, it says a lot without doing much. You know, you're not acting a fool, you're just standing up and doing something that's real classy looking, and I think people like that.
How about the rushing title? You didn't miss out on that by much.
Well, you know, I wouldn't have thought about it had it not been so close. But to give me something, put it in my mouth and let me taste it, and then take it away from me, I mean, that hurts. In the last couple of years, all you see are Barry, Emmett, Barry, Eric. I mean, there's no one else in there. So that would have been nice to see a Terrell Davis somewhere in that slot. But, you know, I still have years to go. And, you know, hopefully one day before I retire or, you know, my career ends, hopefully I can get it.
The fact that you're from San Diego and the fact that the Super Bowl is being played in San Diego, what would that mean to be able to play in the big game in your hometown?
That would be huge. That would be a dream come true. I mean, when I think Denver came and played Washington when I was in high school, and I remember seeing the Super Bowl there, and I thought, man, that would just be a dream come true. They actually play in a Super Bowl in San Diego, and we have an opportunity this year to do that. I mean, it would just be like the pinnacle of my career, my short career.
And if he stays healthy, a productive career, not only a quality football player, a quality young man, Terrell Davis. There's little doubt the Broncos with Davis can run the football. The problem has been stopping the run. They are allowing a league-high 5.7 yards per rush.
Anytime you give up 7 big plays like we have, we've given them up to some great running backs, but we've had some missed tackles, we've had some technique errors, some missed assignments. When you play a one-gap defense, you have to be almost perfect.
Mike Shanahan's talking about high-risk one-gap defense. What's going on with the Denver Broncos D?
Well, let's explain what one-gap defense is. It simply means that each defensive player is responsible for one gap in the defense. Earlier in the season against Cincinnati, John Mobley is responsible for the gap between the center and the guard. But if he gets pushed by that gap, there's going to be a big hole. Now, the Cincinnati Bengals cut off the defensive tackle. Kajana Carter starts to his right, sees Mobley being pushed by the hole, bends back to the left, 79 yards down the field. You know, when you have one gap, it's unforgiving because the secondary, the safeties are very important in case that gap opens up. Last week, Napoleon Kaufman, 57 yards on this play. Bill Romanowski does his job. Both inside linebackers fill the same gap, and Tyrone Braxton overruns it just long enough to allow Napoleon Kaufman to get through. 57 yards down the field, and this is what's costing them 5.7 yards per carry in the National Football League, these long runs.
You know, Sam, I think it's important to point out why teams play this one-gap defense. The purpose is to get those pass rushers up the field to try and get some pressure on the quarterback. But the problem with it, as you pointed out, is it is very vulnerable to these big runs.
All right, guys, we'll take a time out here, and we're back with the Honda Pick of the Week right after this.
The Pick of the Week is brought to you by American Honda, maker of fine quality automobiles, motorcycles, and power equipment. Chris Collinsworth lost for the first time last week, so he's now tied for the lead with Greg Gumbel. With this week's picks, here's Greg.
I'm ecstatic. Here's the real news in today's picks. Joe Gibbs is not picking Pittsburgh. He's taking Tampa Bay over Minnesota. Everybody else going with the Steelers over the Jacksonville Jaguars. We're all going to look either very good or very bad by morning.
You notice the top was Rashad picking the Steelers first? Trendsetter.
Thank you. We invite you to pick along with us online at www.nbcsports.com. Look for the NFL on NBC interactive icon. Incidentally, 36 degrees in Denver. The thaw has begun. We will see you at halftime. The NFL on NBC continues after these messages from your local station.
Terrell Davis. At fullback, number 42, Detron Smith.
Today we're
at the TWA Dome for a rare matchup between two cross-state rivals. It's the AFC facing the NFC as the Kansas City Chiefs take on a struggling group of St. Louis Rams. And it's been a tough start this year for Ram running back Lawrence Phillips. He's had only one rushing touchdown since the first game of the season. Chiefs wide receiver Andre Rison, he has never been more motivated, and it shows. He's number 2 in the AFC in receptions. Hi, everybody. Joel Myers along with Beasley Reese, and welcome to St. Louis. Well, the offensive problems continue for the Rams. They are now 0 for October, Beasley, and they've gone 11 straight quarters without a touchdown from their offensive unit.
Well, all of their offensive stars are struggling, basically. Isaac Bruce with a lot of injuries, Lawrence Phillips with a bad toe, and really struggling their quarterback, Tony Banks. Now, offensive coordinator Jerry Rome told me that if it isn't Banks missing a read, it's one of his offensive linemen blowing an assignment. Now, as for Banks, if he gets off to a slow start today, head coach Dick Vermeil told me yesterday he will not hesitate to move to the veteran quarterback, Mark Rypien.
It's been a dream beginning for Elvis Gerbach's Kansas City Chiefs career, and Marty Schottenheimer has not had a quarterback this young to work with since Bernie Kosar.
Well, you know, when you compare a guy to Bernie mentally, that is a big compliment, and that's what Marty does. He also compares him to great quarterbacks like Joe Montana when it comes to competitive spirit. Now, studying the game film, getting ready for this game, I was amazed at his athletic ability. 6'5", grace, very graceful, very athletic. I think a star is born.
Former high school basketball player, and he says that helped me a lot with my footwork in football as well. So a super start for Gerbach, but a severe test this afternoon, at least on one side of the field. The cornerback for the St. Louis Rams, Ryan McNeil, tops in the NFL. He's already got a career-best 6 interceptions. We'll see if he can pull off number 7 today when we come back to the TWA Dome for the Show Me State Showdown. The 21st consecutive sellout for the Rams in St. Louis. A franchise record as Pete Stoyanovich is ready to get it underway from the 30. David Thompson, the deep back for St. Louis, and he'll take it from the 12. Asim across the 30, out to the 32. So solid field position for a change of pace for the St. Louis Rams offensively. In the spotlight, of course, as Beasley just said, on the very struggling quarterback, Tony Banks. Now, he does have Torrance Small on one side because they're losing Eddie Kennison once again, number 88, their wide receiver, so they still don't have a full complement of healthy wideouts. Ernie Conwell, big tight end. Orlando Pace, his 4th career start, 1st overall pick. Opposite side, another former first-rounder, right tackle, Wayne Gandy. First 2-10 Rams from their own 33. Phillips, can they get him going? Not on that snap, only a yard to the 34. Well, this Kansas City defense is 9th best in the NFL against the run, and they've got that man back, and we'll talk about Derek Thomas in just a moment. John Browning's been the surprise, though, the 3rd-round pick last year out of West Virginia in their 3-4 alignment. And Derek Thomas, he can do anything he wants in the new Falcon position. Donnie Edwards, though, as Marty Schottenheimer told us, the young man who could be very special for a long time to come. Second-year linebacker out of UCLA. So now 2nd and long from the 34. Clock management really killed the Rams last week, and Tony Banks uses a timeout. This doesn't exactly get the crowd behind you.
No, he was introduced to booze last week, and the crowd is very interested in watching what Dick Vermeil would do with his quarterback today. Now, as I mentioned in the open, he told me if Tony gets off to a slow start, there's the man he'll go to, Mark Rypien, but he expects his young quarterback, Tony Banks, to have a good day. It's not that he's down on Banks or negative about Banks, but he knows that he's got a lot to learn, and they're burning a timeout this early in the game is always very difficult. Obviously, something Tony saw that he didn't like.
So on a 2nd and 9, Dick Vermeil loses a timeout just a minute into the game. First year on the sideline after 14 years in the television booth, and it could be a monumental day for Marty Schottenheimer. 131st win. If it does come today, it would tie former Chiefs head coach Hank Stram for 12th on the all-time list.
Marty, in my mind, is one of the great speakers, motivators in the National Football League. In fact, I wouldn't be shy about saying he's the best. When you sit with him and when he talks to coaches, his pregame speeches are legend. What a great motivator.
We asked Andre Rison if you've ever been around anybody more focused. He says no one. And as I met Marty, he said, I knew I was going to sign with the Chiefs.
Well, that's his brother Kurt standing next to him, defensive backfield coach. So a lot of family help standing in there when it comes to Schottenheimers. And I played for Marty with the Giants when he was the defensive coordinator there, and he was special then. And let me tell you something. I know this is a big step, but here's my statement. Over the last, since 1985, there's not a better coach in the National Football Leagues when it comes to wins and losses. And I say, you let this man win a couple of Super Bowls, he'll go down as the best coach ever. You keep watching his career.
Well, he wanted to get Derek Thomas more involved, so Beasley, they've gone to the Falcon defense with Derek Thomas. And it presents so many options because Derek Thomas now is more of a pass rusher, as Marty told us, as opposed to a pass defender. Now, after the timeout, 2nd and 9 for St. Louis from their own 34-yard line. Only 50 seconds into the game, they had to burn a timeout. Banks in trouble. He loses it on his way down. Picked up. The Chiefs have it. Jerome Woods, the free safety with the ball. Tony Banks already was tied for the NFL lead in fumbles, giving up 4, make it 5 now.
Now, Derek Thomas in his Falcon lineup this time decides to go with both feet down and lines up wide on the outside.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 60 on the defensive team. 15 yards, first down.
There's Derek in the Falcon. He lines up down, beats Orlando inside, but Orlando Pace does a pretty good job. When Tony decides to run, Derek comes inside late to make the tackle. Just great hustle by Derek. You see him coming inside, and see, I think that's a bad call.
He's down already.
Banks' knee is down.
He's well down.
As he spins over, the ball comes out.
If instant replay was still instituted in the NFL, further review, and I think it would go back to St. Louis.
So John Browning, number 93, came in and hit him late, but that ball was down, and that's why the people are booing here now.
Penalty on Grudadoria, the center for the Rams, taking it all the way down to the 17. Greg Hill weaving his way inside the 15, inside the 13. So just about 4 on first down.
It's unfortunate for this team, but once again, the defense is put in a very bad position.
Blake Dawson finally healthy, and Kimball Anders, don't forget, out of the backfield. He's leading the NFL running backs in receptions once again this season. He's got 32 already this year. The former 49er Ted Thompson lines up at tight end. 2 new tackles this year. Criswell on the left side. Glenn Parker, the former Bill, is over on the right side. Call it 2nd and 6 at the 13. Gerbach with time. And throwing it wide of Hill. Well, this is where the Rams did a number on Seattle last week, at least in the first half defensively, in the red zone. They really held well. Up front for St. Louis, Leslie O'Neal, 8th all-time on the NFL sack list. DeMarco Farr remembers his first game in the NFL. He played against the Kansas City Chiefs, remember the Rams back in '94, so a special day for him. Pfeiffer and Jones, the outside backers. McNeil, we mentioned, with 6 picks. Don't forget about Keith Lyle. He's already got 4 interceptions as well for the St. Louis secondary. Now, key 3rd down early, especially for the Rams, who are struggling. Dump off, Anders. Or make it Marcus. Yes, it is Kimball Anders. And does he have enough? It looks like he's short of the first down, brought down by Robert Jones.
That's a great job by the St. Louis defense. I mean, really, when you put in a bad position, I think by a bad call, you put in a bad position, all you can do is try to hold. They held, and the best that Kansas City can get out of this is 3 points. Kimball Anders, one of the best receiving running backs in the league, came into this game with 32 receptions, and there's number 33 there.
Great start this year for Pete Stoyanovich from 26 yards away. He gives Kansas City a 3-0 lead as they capitalize on the turnover. We'll be right back. The TWA Dome with Kansas City on top.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by Brewery Fresh Budweiser, who reminds you fresh beer tastes better. By the 1998 Honda Accord, an Accord like no other. By UPS, the official package delivery company of the NFL. And by the Edge Pizza, new from Pizza Hut. Have you been to the Edge?
Questionable call at the outset of the contest. Derek Thomas wrapping up Tony Banks, but it looked like Banks was down before he fumbled the ball away. And Stoyanovich ready to kick it away after he hit him a 25-yard field goal. A 3-0 lead for Kansas City, and David Thompson from the 6. Thompson out to the 27. So the Rams get it for the second time offensively. And that was a tough call for a team that's been struggling and having to play catch up.
Let me take you through it here. You see he's tackled and ready to freeze it right now. He is down. The ball is still in his hands. Let it roll. And as you see, when he comes over, the ball comes out way after the knee is down. Now, let me tell you something, Joel. I think that when you have a reputation for fumbling, and Banks has lost 4 balls, and that ties him for the most fumbles lost in the season already, I think people kind of subconsciously say, he fumbled again.
They run Lang, the tight end in motion. Huge hole for Lawrence Phillips. They need to get the ground game going. Phillips with only 18 yards on 7 carries last week against Seattle and put so much pressure on the quarterback.
I tell you where this offense has been decent. It's been decent at the point of attack, but Phillips is a cutback runner. So he jumps in the hole, tries to cut back, but the offensive line isn't talented enough to seal off the backside. That time they got it sealed off, and Lawrence was able to gain some yards.
And out of the 401, 125 also came in week 1 against the Saints. Phillips for the first down. He's got it. Stumbling his way past the 38 up to the 39-yard line. So 2 straight carries as he's tripped up by Donnie Edwards.
Well, this is good job by the offensive line, and he's stumbling and bumbling around with that bad toe. But you see everybody up front's got good blocks. You see Phillips stumbles on that very sore turf toe, and he's playing on turf. He stumbles when he hits that pain point, the point of pain. But a nice first down for this offense.
Tony Banks told us yesterday there's been a look of determination all week long with Lawrence Phillips. He said, look for a big one from Phillips. Banks on first down, looking for Phillips. Instead, going for the bundle, and he's got a receiver. Flag is down. Isaac Bruce had beaten the cornerback, Mark McMillan.
That's why you have to stay with Tony Banks. That throw was marvelous. It was right over the outside shoulder. You don't throw a football any better than this, and this is why Dick Vermeil and a lot of people are saying you must live with this young guy's growing pain. Look at the blocking up front. It's beautiful by the offensive line. And the throw high over the outside shoulder. Look at Andre Bruce over his outside shoulder. Should have made the catch, and they're very fortunate to get the call there. That's a bang-bang play.
Turns out to be a 39-yard penalty. First and 10, St. Louis at the 20. Vaughn Booker.
Encroachment, number 99. 5 yards, first down.
New starter for Kansas City. They have 5 new starters defensively this year and 6 new starters on the offensive side.
Big Vaughn Booker. 6'5", 285 pounds, out of Cincinnati, offsides there. You know, he left college to do 2 years in the Army. This is an interesting guy. He left college, did a couple of years in the Army, came back from college to the pros, and now he's making some money, but he's got to stay on side.
And he boxed in college, so you know he's tough. Phillips getting back at the boundary, breaking a tackle. He loses the ball in Kansas City, gets it once again. Coming up with a loose ball, Anthony Davis.
Well, I tell you, that's a shame. That is an absolute shame. An offense that needs to get something going, and then carrying the ball in the wrong hand, all you young running backs, that ball should be on the left arm because all of the trouble's coming from the right side. He should know better than to carry that football there.
Scraped away by Donnie Edwards, and Kansas City has it back when we return.
This is the NFL on NBC.
Lawrence Phillips should know better. When you're running a play to the left side, you put it in your hand away from the trouble. He's got it in the right hand, so really anybody. You see the little stab by the defender? That's Edwards. Donnie Edwards is reaching a hand in and knocking the ball out because Lawrence carried it in the wrong arm.
First and 10, Kansas City. Gerbach after the play fake. An ad-lib and knocked away. Great coverage by the defensive back on that side. Ryan McNeil blanketing the wide receiver.
Well, he's mad because he should have had the interception. His coverage was beautiful from start to finish. McNeil, with so much talent, good hands, he's in good position the whole way, leading the National Football League with 6 interceptions. That would have been 7. So I know he's upset. They're picking on the wrong guy.
And it used to be they'd go to the opposite side of Todd Light. Now they're throwing more off of the Light side, the McNeil side. Anders in motion on 2nd and 10. The toss sweep. Craig Hill gets outside. Didn't look like he was going to get much, but took it across the 20. Knocked out of bounds at the 21 for a gain of 3. And again, that man, Ryan McNeil, on the run support.
Well, that play is not supposed to work in the National Football League. The defensive athletes are too fast, they're too quick, but every now and then you check it as a tendency break. So you run the sweep just to make sure that everybody is playing the right way, but look how fast that Rams defense goes from sideline to sideline. Toss sweep should never work in the National Football League.
St. Louis defense 10th overall in the NFL, despite all the poor field position they have to deal with because of the tough situations their offense leaves them in. Now 3rd down. Wide open. Anders again. Can he get to the marker? No. He's out of bounds. They gave him a great spot, though. He needed to take it near the 28-yard line. It was knocked out around the 27, but they're going to spot it closer to the 28 and may need to bring in the chains from the far sideline.
Well, this is an excellent play by the offense. What they did was they put the slot to the right side. The slot's to your right side of your formation. The wide receivers go inside, dragging all the defenders away. And look at all of the space that Kimball Landers has to work in. That's a good job by Todd Light. I would rather see a defensive back go low. When you tackle a guy around his shoulders, he tends to continue another yard or two. So had he have taken his shoulder pads and tried to drive low through his legs, it most assuredly wouldn't have been a first down. As it turns out right now,
they are short by inches. So the Chiefs don't have a first down yet today, but they still have a 3-0 lead on that Rams turnover by Tony Banks deep in St. Louis territory. Aguiar ready to punt it away. Malcolm Floyd, young man out of Fresno State, waiting back deep for St. Louis.
Aguiar's a good one. He's averaging 43.7. He had a 65-yarder against Oakland, and we are indoors, as you well know. He can put a foot into it.
Didn't affect Aguiar. Bangs out of beauty. Backpedaling is Floyd. Looking over to the left side. Nothing available. Great coverage. Special teams play has been killing the Rams this year. It continues to be a problem. A 58-yard boot.
Told you he can kick.
Louis Aguiar, 7th year out of Utah State. St. Louis has it back when we return, trailing by 3. 25-yard field goal by Pete Stoyanovich to take Kansas City to a 3-0 lead in the showdown of the Show Me State. Frank Gans is the special teams coach for the St. Louis Rams. Held that position as well with the Kansas City Chiefs a few years back. Not so special to the special teams here, though, in St. Louis, and it kills the Rams easily field position-wise.
Well, it's not coaching because Gans is one of the best ever. In fact, other special teams coaches call him to get information, to get tips. But this team is in last place or very near last in almost every category, and I think it's going to be a problem here today.
And offensively, they're second from the bottom, 29th overall. They get it back at their own 21. Banks with time, and Conwell holds on to it. Dropped a couple last week, the tight end. It's good for only 4, though. Anthony Davis, the outside backer, making the stop. Any kind of confidence they can build, though, even the short ones, the tight ends or the running backs, that's what Tony Banks needs right now.
Well, right now, the offensive line, the quarterback play, everything on the Rams offense is working. They got a bad call on Banks on the fumble. They drove it down, and Phillips made the mistake and put the ball in the wrong hand, but they are doing things today.
On the delay, Lawrence Phillips. Gives the crease for a couple. Give him 3 up to the 28, bringing up a 3rd and 3.
Oh, that's a beautiful down and distance, 3rd and 3. It's just short enough to put extreme pressure on the defensive coordinator because they might do anything with just 3 yards to go to gain a first down. And it's a good test for us to see how confidently Tony Banks works the offense here. You know, a nice little short pass. They've got their receiving running back in the game right now.
It's Amp Lee time.
Amp Lee time, number 31.
Movement up front, 3 down for the Rams. What a spin by Amp Lee. Great maneuver past the 35 to the 36, and it looked like Kansas City jumped anyway.
Let me tell you something, man. That boy's got more game than Nintendo. Just beautiful balance. You know, he's a throwback. You don't see guys with the shaky moves.
Defense, penalty is declined, first down.
Well, we told you it was Amp Lee time, but the defensive line and linebackers of Kansas City just get a little bit anxious. That was number 92, Big Dan Williams, jumping off sides, and look at Amp. Amp is beautiful. He's got this loping, stylish run, got all of the moves. I mean, this guy will put on a show for you today.
Smoothie out of Florida State originally. Draft choice, the San Francisco 49ers. 1st and 10 Rams, down by 3 at their own 36. Phillips, huge hole on the delay, into the secondary, another first down for the Rams, all the way to the 45. Nice block by Orlando Pace before he's brought down by Reggie Tongue.
Oh, baby, that was beautiful. Lawrence Phillips was my favorite running back coming out of college. Now look at this. Just a gaping hole by the offensive line of the Rams. Phillips didn't have to do anything. See, that's the way it was for Lawrence Phillips when he was in college at Nebraska. Nobody touched him for the first 5 or 6 yards of the play, and that's the type of hole that he needs to be successful.
St. Louis and Kansas City territory for the 2nd time this afternoon already at 6:45. The early going for Phillips. Banks on the design roll. Isaac Bruce, did he take it in? Yes, and they've got another first down at the 34. Let's head to the studio now to New York and check in with Greg Gumbel for an update. Greg?
All right, Joel, and we'll take you to Jack Kent Cooke Stadium, where Gus Ferrara of the Redskins has answered a Vinny Testaverde touchdown pass with one of his own, 15 yards. Leslie Shepard on the reception at the back of the end zone with the extra point. Washington and Baltimore all tied up at 7-all. Joel?
All right, thank you, Greg. Bragging rights. So close.
Just a short little drive away.
Denver wishes they had to travel that far for their game.
Well, right now, the much maligned Tony Banks is putting on a show, folks.
1st and 10 from the 34. Banks in trouble. Beautiful move. Can he get to the boundary? Yes, and he's got good yardage. And another first down all the way near the 20 to the 19.
Tony Banks athletically rolled out the play before and hit Isaac Bruce. And then here, he does a classic John Elway, feeling the pressure from the backside, doing the 360, and then getting out of bounds. I don't know if you'll see it, but at the end of this, number 81, a little wide receiver, there he is, making the block on a linebacker, Keith Crawford. Now, I'm really proud to see that. He puts a hit on Anthony Davis at the end of that. There's another look at the 360.
Play clock winding down, and Banks has to use another timeout. So we aren't quite 9 minutes into the game. And once again, we've talked about clock management. Tough for the St. Louis Rams. They've only got one timeout left in the half. On first down, Hayward looked like he wanted to throw. Now 15 for good yardage from the 19. They'll give him the 12, and he gets 7 on first down. Good block with the tight end on that side, Ernie Conwell. McDaniels in on the hit.
Well, Ironhead can do it all. I have known him since he was about a sophomore, freshman in high school, and has always been a big-name guy, even as a kid. Here he is. He's going to throw this ball. You see him set up, but he sees his tight end fall down. His intended receiver fell down, so he tucked it and made good yardage out of it.
They mark it at the 13, call it 2nd and 4. Short play clock, and Phillips dropped in the backfield. No gain on the carry. Donnie Edwards with a good penetration once again. Dan Williams cleaned up in his 5th year out of Toledo. Little or no gain on that carry, though. And the Chiefs have been one of the very best in the NFL at stopping opponents inside the red zone. 21 trips inside the red zone for the opposition and only 7 touchdowns.
Well, this is a real test for a quarterback. I mean, if you're going to pass, you have to be very careful. You have to decide to throw it away, protect the ball, make sure you get the opportunity to tie this game up. It's something I wouldn't be talking about if we were with a veteran quarterback, but it is something we should watch here.
Without a doubt, 2 turnovers already today for St. Louis. Now 3rd and 4. Pick up the blitz. He's got Isaac Bruce. Touchdown, St. Louis. Yards on the fastball to Bruce.
Well, you can't cover Isaac Bruce from an off position with this little space. I don't care if you are one of the best corners in the league, that being Dale Carter. You've got to get in the guy's face and bump and run him. So Bruce comes down, shakes him outside, breaks in, and it's another perfect throw by Tony Banks.
Wilkins on the point after. And a rare first quarter lead for the St. Louis Rams.
Well, Tony Banks deserves to be congratulated and highlighted for that drive. Great catch by Bruce because of all of the stuff he's had to take. So anytime a young guy does something really good, you gotta, I tell you, I hope the fans cheer him because this is a good throw, a patient throw. Look at the blocking. This offensive line has been much maligned also, but that's a bullet that actually looked like it ricocheted.
The tight end almost went for it.
Oh my goodness. So once again, we go back to Isaac Bruce. How good is this guy? A ball thrown that high, hard, and the path slightly altered by the touch, and he still brings it in.
So a 7-3 lead for the Rams now with 4:59 left in the opening 15 minutes of play, and Kansas City is still looking for their first down of the contest.
Isaac Bruce has got a lot of game. He made some statements last week that Dick Vermeil did not appreciate. He questioned whether or not his teammates were working hard. And Coach Vermeil had a talk with him, and they're back on the same page.
Dick Vermeil said it was good because he said Isaac is such a super guy, a quality guy. Sometimes those guys you don't see as often or talk to. He said we had a session together, and we needed it.
There's a great coach right there.
Wilkins kicking it away to DeMarc Vanover. And one of the best in the league from the 3. Up the middle. And he is crunched short of the 24.
Well, that's a rare good job in kickoff coverage by the Rams because they are normally horrible. And DeMarc Vanover is averaging 27.7 on returns, one of the best in the league. So that's a good job by the Rams.
Well, it is that time of the year once again.
I don't think he's human. He's taking out my sin.
On Halloween Sunday, they thought a serial killer was on the loose. The only explanation impossible to believe. As on first down, Greg Hill with good yardage across the 25 to the 28. But don't forget an NBC original event, House of Frankenstein, 1997. It's next Sunday on NBC.
Well, I can't wait. Let me tell you this.
You're into that.
I'm into that type of stuff, especially when you bring my man Frankenstein into the mix. Frankenstein has always been one of my men.
Gerback with time, and he's got the tight end Popson. He's got a first down to the 40. The first down of the contest comes on the third possession of the game for Kansas City. The strong safety Toby Wright finally belting Ted Popson. And if two guys are on the same page, and Rison obviously is with Gerbach, it's Popson who's with him in San Francisco.
Well, watch Elvis Gerbach survey the field. He checks his receiver that's wide to the right. He's covered. He comes back to Popson and throws a bullet. Elvis Gerbach is a star emerging. You know, I asked him about the success he's having, and he looked at me straight in the eye and he said, "It's nothing that I didn't anticipate." What positive thought.
On first down, Popson again, and he pays for the reception with Toby Wright in the small of his back.
Oh, boy. And I have a bad back, so just looking at that makes me get off this bench. Oh, man. Right in the lower part of the back with a shot.
It's a very deep position for them now, though.
Just a simple little route against the zone, and then a little adjustment. He doesn't have to go to the chiropractor this week. He's been adjusted.
Derek Walker takes over for Ted Popson. Second, a little more than a yard. Into the secondary. There goes Anders. And a big stop by Keith Lyle, or he's going down the sideline. Instead, he's stopped with another first down for Kansas City at the 40. Who woke up the Chiefs offense?
Let me tell you something. That's a lucky play, too. Lyle tackles him with an arm, which is something you normally cannot get away with in the National Football League. Bad tackling. Bad tackling by two Rams there, and almost a bad tackle by Keith Lyle. Most great plays by offense is a result of bad defense. That was bad tackling by the Rams.
This time Greg Hill getting to the outside. Good yardage on first down again. Knocked out. Inside the 35, close to the 34 by Light and Wright.
But there's nothing I hate worse than seeing bad tackling. I mean, those are the fundamentals, and I think the pros get away from it sometimes. They don't work on tackling. One of the reasons is, you know, the players are older, and you can't bang each other as much. You know, high schools, hopefully, work on fundamentals a lot. But these guys, I've noticed this in the league. There's been some bad tackling in the NFL this year.
Lake Dawson in motion. Same side as Andre Rison. Greg Hill slithering his way close to another first down. He's got it to the 29. So the ground game coming alive now. Wright and Lyle in the secondary making the hit on Greg Hill. His first year as a starter, taking over for Marcus Allen. Anders with a nice block out of the backfield.
Well, Tim Grunhard, Dave Sott, Jeff Criswell, these guys do a real good job on the left side. Really good job. So it's a veteran offensive line group. They are 7, 8, 9 years across the board on average. Veteran group for Elvis.
First down, Gerbach in trouble trying to set the screen, and it's almost intercepted. Deflected, and Leslie O'Neal almost got to it. Roman Pfeiffer got a piece of it as well.
Boy, that was like a Wild West jailbreak. All of the linemen came through. Now, they're supposed to, in a screen, the quarterback is supposed to suck them back, but these guys come through so fast that Elvis has to run and swing this thing, and boy, all of the Rams are in good position.
First Pfeiffer trying to grab it with one hand, and then O'Neal at the bottom.
Look at this. They're all in position. Good defense.
Second and 10 outside of the St. Louis 29. Gerbach off the play fake, in trouble, and throws it into the turf. Now, he wasn't outside of the tackle. Greg Hill was in the neighborhood, though. DeMarco Farr.
Well, this Rams defense, I'm telling you, I am very impressed. It's Bud Carson's work. He's the defensive coordinator. Such a veteran group of coaches.
And DeMarco Farr led the Rams last year in stops behind the line of scrimmage. Dick Vermeil smiles every time he talks about DeMarco Farr. DeMarco Farr, a former Pac-10 defensive lineman of the year senior season at Washington, but he wasn't drafted out of college. He couldn't believe it.
That's the plus for the Rams, really. Their defensive linemen are excellent. Carter, Johnson, Farr, and Leslie O'Neal.
Third and 10. You'd have to think it's going to be a penalty against the offense. Was it delay of game? Did they take too much time?
Delay of the game.
Yes.
Offense.
stop themselves on 3rd and 10 with 65 seconds left in the quarter, Beasley.
Well, take a look at number 75 here, DeMarco Farr. See, that was kind of a zone blitz. He stepped up like he was going to block and backed out, and then gives good pressure. He's got 1 interception already this year. Only 6'1", but 280. Compact.
The heat on Gerbach. He's going for the bundle, and he's got Lake Dawson. And Dawson never picked up the pass. Working against Todd Light.
Elvis can't believe it because the ball was right there. Lake, obviously not the primary receiver, so he just kind of jogged through the pattern. Young football players, you can't do that. You have to play like you're going to get the ball every time. Elvis is in trouble because our man, DeMarco Farr, once again puts pressure on him. And look, Lake never sees the ball, kind of 3/4 his way through his pattern, and Elvis is in shock.
Stoyanovich now outside of the 42, a 52-yard attempt. It's got the direction. Does it have the distance? Yes, from 52 yards away. Wow. Stoyanovich makes it a 1-point ball game.
Boy, these boys are putting on a show. You know, that's a 52-yard kick. Last week, I saw Jeff Wilkins, the kicker for the Rams, kick a 51-yarder against Seattle. These guys are getting too good.
On his career now, Beasley, that's 15 field goals and 50 yards or better for Pete Stoyanovich. We'll follow the NFL season online at NBCSports.com. This week, NFL insider Gil Brandt previews the field for Rookie of the Year honors. Points out the biggest plays so far this season. Plus, our poll this week asking who looks like the Coach of the Year at the halfway point of the season. It's all at NBCSports.com. Marty Schottenheimer at 5-2 with 11 new starters this year. Has to be considered a candidate right now for Coach of the Year. So many new ingredients for the Chiefs. 54 seconds left in the first quarter. He was worried coming in because of the Rams' defensive unit.
Well, I talked earlier about Marty Schottenheimer. I think he's the best coach in the National Football League. Every year he wins. So, you know, what else can you say about that? 11 straight teams to winning records. 126 wins since 1985. That's number 1 in the NFL.
Stoyanovich gets into it. Thompson can't hold it. Can he get to the 20? No. David Thompson. You got to break with a spot. They'll give him the ball to the 19-yard line. It's down closer to the 15.
I don't understand the Rams. They will fumble a kickoff. Let me look. I did both. I ran back punts. I ran back kick. You can't miss a kickoff.
Nobody's in your face.
You have to close your eyes and be thinking of water skiing.
Does it become psychological, though, as somebody who used to do it?
The Rams have dropped about 5 this year.
Bunch have really been tough.
That fumbles another one.
Lawrence Phillips, the single set. Dick Vermeil mentioned they wanted to go to 3 more wide receiver alignments and get away from max protection. They do that for the first time today, and it brings a timeout out of the Kansas City defense. Would like to open things up, more options in the offense, because the last 3 weeks, as they said, they've really simplified things.
Well, one of the features that they've been looking for is a new position for Derek Thomas. Now, because he was hurt most of the season and he's just back last week, they're just now able to really institute the defense they call the Falcon. Now, here's what it means. He can rush from standing up, 2-point stance, or down in a 3-point stance. He can vary his alignment, meaning line up on the right side, left side, or in the middle. And here's where he's been lining up most of the day today. It's been in a 3-point stance, 7 times on the right, 1 time in the middle, and 2 on the left. Now, he has such talent that the offense has to account for his position. It's one more thing that you have to game plan for during the course of the week, so it takes time. It dilutes your preparation when it comes to other things. I think it's a great idea because it puts Derek Thomas 95% of the time as a rusher, and that is what he does best.
Most of the time as well on the weak side. Opposite of the tight end. Going for the bundle for Isaac Bruce. He's got it again. Bruce working against Mark McMillan once again. 51 yards on the grab.
I don't know how fast this guy is. Isaac Bruce is too fast. Listen, he jogged by this guy. And Tony Banks threw it as hard and as high as he could. And Bruce still had to slow down or he would have scorched the defense of the Kansas City Chiefs. That was impressive. And these are great corners. Dale Carter, James Hasty.
Play clock all the way down to a second by the time the Rams got out of the huddle. So again, another timeout. We've talked about the young quarterback. You would think, though, more than 7 games into the season, they would get it together on the play clock.
Well, the Rams already have 0 timeouts. The Chiefs with 2, and we are just rounding out the first quarter. That's something that has killed them. But, you know, that happens with young quarterbacks.
It killed them last week because they did get the ball back against Seattle. Had they had 1 timeout left in that game, they would have gotten the ball back more with a minute and a half left instead of only 24 seconds left. They lost that game by a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. They lost it 17-9 to Seattle. Banks perfect so far, though. 4 of 4, 78 yards.
I just can't get over Isaac Bruce. Now, I know he's a star. I know he's a star, but he's working against Dale Carter, you know, who is a Pro Bowler, made the Pro Bowl the last 3 years. Dale Carter shut Tony Martin out from San Diego, had 0 catches. Only Deion Sanders and Dale Carter have scored as a punt returner, an interception back for a return, and lining up as wide receiver and scoring touchdowns in the history of the NFL. So this is a great player that they are putting some money on. And Carter, I'm just now noticing, is lining up with Bruce wherever he goes.
3 wide receivers set once again on first down from the 30. The delay for Lawrence Phillips. Great read out of the backfield. Wrapping up the running back early was John Browning in his 2nd year out of West Virginia. So that'll be the final play. A wild first 15 minutes in St. Louis. The Rams at the end of the first quarter with a rare advantage. They lead it by a point over the Chiefs, 7-6. St. Louis Rams gave it away twice in the opening 15 minutes of play. Despite that, though, they still have a 7-6 lead as we start the second in St. Louis over the crosstown rivals, or cross-state rivals, rather, the Kansas City Chiefs. Don't forget, next Saturday, it's the return of the NBC Saturday Thrillergy with 3 amazing shows. First, The Pretender is back. Then the newest thrill, Sleepwalkers, followed by the return of Profiler. The NBC Saturday Thrillergy. It all returns next Saturday on NBC. I know you'll be there.
Better believe it. And Tony Banks has got a great drive going. It was a nice pass to Bruce. It's an interesting story as people are calling for his head in St. Louis. But he's a young guy. I mean, you have to live with the growing pains. You see right now, this kid is perfect.
Isaac Bruce has caught 3 of those 4 passes, including the only touchdown of the game, a 13-yarder from Tony Banks. On 2nd and 11, off the helmet of Conwell, just skimmed his helmet. I don't know if it was a wake-up call or not from Tony Banks.
Well, you know,
we fell back by an hour last night.
Well, let me see if I can figure out what he's thinking here. So see, the kid's not looking at him. The referee's in the way. That's one of those brain cramps that young quarterbacks have.
He had Isaac Bruce in helmet last week. You remember that, partner. We were here.
Every now and then, a young quarterback will just lose his mind. I don't know what he was thinking there.
All the scores around the NFL. Baltimore that lead at Washington today, 14-7. Rams 2 for 2 so far in their 3rd down attempts. This is the 3rd and 11. The flip to Amp Lee. And a good read by the linebacker, Anthony Davis. He stayed at home. So long field goal attempt coming up for Jeff Wilkins and the Rams, trying to go up by 4. Drive started back at the 19, and Isaac Bruce again came up with a big play.
Yeah, that's such a dangerous play. The Dallas Cowboys, Tom Landry, and the great Tony Dorsett, they invented that play. It's been used very successfully throughout the years. The Rams used it very well last week.
12 of 14 on the year, a 51-yarder last week from 45 yards away. It's drifting over to the right side, and it is just wide. So a miss from 45 by Wilkins. And still a slim 1-point lead for St. Louis. Chiefs get it back in solid field position when we come back.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by Century by Buick. Discover a little luxury in this century. By AT&T, it's all within your reach. By Frost Brewed Coors Light, to remind you the three most important words are Hey Beer Man. And by American Express. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, American Express helps you do more.
Welcome back once again to St. Louis. Joel Myers along with Beasley Reese. The Kansas City Chiefs very sluggish offensively on their first two possessions. Started to pick up the pace. On the third, it resulted in a 52-yard field goal. And now Andre Rison, Elvis Gerbach ready to go once again. He's second in the AFC with 41 grabs so far this season. Looking for his first catch today. And after the miss by Wilkins, they get it right back at the 35-yard line. And Gerbach out of the timeout. The change of possession is audibilizing.
Well, he sees man for man. This could be a long pass.
Gerbach just over the fingertips of Lake Dawson. You like that call, though, don't you?
I love the call. He saw man-for-man coverage, so they converted into the quick slant, and had they have hit it, it would have walked. See, they noticed everybody's lined up inside the box, so Elvis just too high, throws it away because Todd Light really in good position, probably on purpose. Elvis threw that high and away.
Goes back to the composure and confidence, though, that you talked about with Gerbach.
He's cool.
2nd and 10 from the 35. Minute into the second quarter. On the outs, Rison, did he get both feet in? Yes, and he's got a first down on his first grab of the day, working against Ryan McNeil. We asked Andre Rison why he has such an early relationship and a special one as we look at the replay. He said, we got on the team bus going to camp. For some reason, I sat with Elvis Gerbach. Started from there.
Well, they had about a 2-hour ride to camp. They talked. And, Elvis didn't know what to think when they signed Andre Rison. In fact, his father-in-law had a few choice words about it. Now his father-in-law is a huge Andre Rison fan. But he didn't know what to expect, and he's been very happy.
Donnell Bennett, his first carry of the day. Fourth-year man out of Miami, lunging toward the 49-yard line for only a couple.
When we talked to Andre Rison yesterday, I asked him what was his goal this season, and he said his #1 goal was to shut people's. He always has a chip on his shoulder. Take a look at his production. 95, only 47 receptions, 96, and that's nothing for this guy. And there have been times like when he was with the Falcons where he caught 80, 90 balls. So if you feature him, he is a real stud.
2nd and 8. Pocket holds up well, and Gerbach's got some real estate. Sliding down, catching up with him, though, and doing an outstanding job was Jeff Skunina. Otherwise, it was going to be a big gain for Elvis Gerbach. So now a 3rd and long coming up.
Well, I'm so impressed with Elvis Gerbach, as is everyone in the National Football League. That's not news that I'm breaking. But just so athletic. He's been very poised in the pocket. Look how here he knows when to go down. I mean, you see some quarterbacks get knocked out. Guy's done everything right. It's been a dream season for him.
Kansas City 0 for 3, and an offensive lineman on the right side lifted up. It's going to be 3rd and 12 instead of 3rd and 7.
False start, number 88, left end. 5 yards, 3rd down.
Tight end over there on that side. Tony Gonzalez, the rookie out of Cal. And are they ever deep at tight end with Popson, Walker, and Gonzalez, and all three a little bit different?
Let me tell you something. Kansas City is a great football team. They are challenging right in the thick of things. But when you allow a Rams team to hang around, you can cause yourself some real problems. I mean, here they are tied right behind Denver at 5-2. They need to put this team out.
Pocket holds up for Gerbach, and the tight end gets away. Gonzalez with the first down inside the 40. They'll knock him out near the 36.
Gonzalez is their #1 draft choice. And boy, they talk about this guy like he might rewrite the records. 6'4", 244. just a marvelous athlete. He was an Orange County Athlete of the Year in high school, and the co-athlete of the year was Tiger Woods. So that lets you know what type of athletes come out of Orange County. Gonzalez has game.
He's chiseled. I mean, he is sculpted. Not a bad basketball player either for the Cal Bears. Gerbach on first down from the 35. Looking for the tight end, pops in this time.
You didn't see that throw.
Another first down. The tight end position this year through 7 games has already picked up more yardage for the Kansas City Chiefs at that position as opposed to all of the games they played last year.
And Popson is a weird story. He didn't play football in high school. Never played football until he went to college. Can you imagine the high school coaches coming up to this guy saying, "What are you doing, son? Come out here and play." Well, he did in college, and now here he is making big plays in the pros.
First Gonzalez, now Popson. Play fake by Gerbach. In trouble. Good idea to throw it away. Looking in the direction of Gonzalez. Mike Jones getting back in coverage. Kevin Carter right in the face of the quarterback. That made the difference.
Well, this is real good pressure. This Rams defense is always, it's been decent all season long. So Kevin Carter just floating outside to make sure that Elvis doesn't run, and then he decides to pressure the quarterback and forces the throwaway.
2nd and 10. Ball at the 21. 7-6 lead for St. Louis. Inside of 11 minutes left in the half. Gerbach with time, throwing it behind the intended target and batted away from Rison by Todd Light. Some battles going on in the secondary.
You better believe it. And, see, these guys probably thought, did Kansas City, they were going to walk in here and just kind of stab these guys. Look at Todd Light anticipate the patterns, shutting down even before Andre Rison did. Todd Light is having a super season. I thought he was excellent last week against Seattle. They kept testing him. He stood to the test. And here he is playing very good right now.
3rd and 10 for the 21. Gerbach getting it away. He's got a man in the end zone. Lake Dawson, touchdown Kansas City. First lead of the day, and it's not Rison taking it in, but Lake Dawson is just back over the last couple of weeks from an injury.
Well, just as I congratulate Todd Light, Dawson gets in between Light and the safety, I believe Keith Lyle. Gerbach is trying to call a timeout. I think they might want to consider going for 2 here. But just as I congratulate Todd, Dawson gets between Todd and the safety. I'll show you how when we come back after this break.
Kansas City Chiefs try to convert on a 2-point conversion for the first time this year. 0 for 2 so far over the first 7.
Well, and it's important mathematically. It's 7-12 right now. If they can get it to 9-12, a field goal will tie it up.
Popson the tight end in motion, moving the pocket, looking for the other tight end, and it's in. They'll give it to him. And give it to Dannon Hughes. He was right on the goal line when he caught the ball. So they're now 1 for 3 on their 2-point tries this year, and they've got a 7-point lead.
Well, I tell you, that was big.
And to Mark Vanover, 87, not 83.
I can't tell if he was ever in with the ball. But the referee is right there on the line, so I trust these guys. Great call, great catch. Good job going for 2 there. I want to show you what happened on the touchdown before, which was a great throw by Elvis. Now, this is cover 2. This safety has half the field. This one, the cornerbacks have the flat, but if no one comes in the flat, they're going to continue to run with it. So watch this safety take his half as we roll it. Okay, hold it right here. Now, what these young safeties don't know is how to eliminate receivers. This guy is covered, so Lyle should let him go and concentrate on getting more over here to help. See, the guy in the middle is covered, but young safeties, it takes them a while to learn who to eliminate. He should have moved over there to help Todd Light just a little bit sooner.
Dawson with a touchdown reception of 21 yards on a 9-play, 65-yard drive. So 2 successful drives in a row now for the Kansas City Chiefs as Gerbach gets it going. He's 8 of 16 for an even 100 yards in passing. And a 14-7 lead for the 5-2 Chiefs who start the day. Only a game beyond the Denver Broncos in the AFC West. David Thompson, can he hang on? Yes. That's a victory to begin with. Not much more, though. Just across the 20 to the 21. See how the young Rams respond now, trailing for the first time in the contest. Difference a week makes for Tony Banks. Last week he was over 50% on his completions for only the second time this year. Well, again, they couldn't get into the end zone for the third consecutive game.
He told us he thought he took a couple of steps backwards the last couple of weeks, but today he is really playing a lot better.
The delay, Lawrence Phillips again into the secondary, slowed up by the linebacker, and finally brought down by Thomas.
Now Phillips gave away 2 or 3 yards here. He's still running like he's at Nebraska. You can't stop and dance around in the hole in the NFL. They're coming at you too fast. Big hole, nice blocking. And right here, watch him try to come back a little bit. You can't come back here in the NFL and get away with anything. You've got to take what they get. He lost about 2 yards there, although it was a nice game.
They got 5 out to the 26. Again, Phillips. Banged down immediately. Give him a yard at the most. So now 3rd and 4 coming up for St. Louis. Denver, if they're a little bit groggy, because they have that 3-0 lead at Buffalo right now, it's understandable. The problems they had, and well documented by Greg Gumbel and all the guys the NFL on NBC this morning. Took a while to get out of Denver with that snowstorm. 3rd and 4. Rams to a 3-on-3rd down tries. Blitz up the middle. Banks buys some time. And was the receiver out of bounds to begin with, Isaac Bruce. Will they get the catch? Yes. Oh, believe it or not.
Oh, Isaac Bruce is so talented. And then, let's not take away from the little flick toss by the quarterback, Mr. Tony Banks. Now, athletically, very few quarterbacks can do this. There's only a couple. Steve Young, guys that can be running half speed, flick the ball on a rope. Look at that catch. And notice how he kept that foot up in the air, so that foot never, look at Bruce. See how he keeps that outside foot up so it never really touches the paint? You have to have 2 feet in the National Football League, and Isaac Bruce very aware of where he is on the playing surface.
They just can't get it together in the huddle, though. Another delay of game call.
Oh, these guys are killing it. If it's not timeouts, utilized because they're in the wrong formation or they don't know what the adjustment is to what the defense is offering them, it's something else.
We saw that last week, too. It's not a seance. They've got to get it together here. He's pointing to his helmet because of the transmission from his coordinator in the booth, calling the plays. Banks is 6 of 7, though. 91 yards and a touchdown toss to Isaac Bruce. Conwell in motion. Banks in trouble. And they're going to throw a flag, even though Hayward was right there working against the linebacker. Ron Booker got at the quarterback.
Well, he throws that close enough to Hayward where that shouldn't be an intentional grounding.
Number 12. Throw it into the ground.
Coach Vermeil agrees.
Loss of down.
See, Hayward was very close there. Tony Banks is hurt.
He landed on that throwing arm, on the elbow.
Yeah. Well, the reason they call it is because he was in such danger that they don't think he was going to be able to escape it. So that's what makes it really look like intentional grounding. But Banks was able to get the ball very close to number 34, Ironhead Hayward. See him trying to sling it out there to him?
I mean, you can see the intent is to throw it at Hayward. But now, in the spirit of the law, Joel.
Yes, Judge Beasley Reese.
In the spirit of the law, I guess it was intentional grounding.
The barrister you are. Third penalty on St. Louis, 32 yards at Marcos. That's a costly one because of the loss of down, and it was already 1st and 15.
Listen to this cheer, and in some cases, a standing ovation in the stands for Mark Rypien. They have been very frustrated with the play of their young quarterback and anticipating seeing what would happen if a wise, old, crafty veteran like Mark Rypien was behind this offense.
12th year out of Washington State. 2nd and 27 now, back at the 19. He's going to throw on first down. And throws an interception to Hasty. It's picked off at the 26. And Kansas City has it back.
Well, I don't know what Mark is complaining about. I think he's looking for a pass interference, but, you know, that's just a great play. And demoralizing for this team. I'm sure some of the players were wondering what would happen. See, you can touch the guy in the first 5 yards. That's why that's not a penalty. You know, he was being mugged, but mugged in the first 5 yards. That's legal. So Mark is complaining that his receiver was being harassed while the ball was in the air, but that's not the case.
That was his first throw of the year, and it's a pick for James Hasty. So now 12 interceptions for the Kansas City Chiefs on the season. That ties for the top spot in the NFL. Gerbach in trouble. O'Neal's got him. He was slowed down by DeMarco Farr.
That's sack number 5 by Leslie O'Neal on the year. And Marty Schottenheimer told me yesterday that O'Neal might be the best ever to play the position. What a statement when you've got the Bruce Smiths and the Reggie Whites. But they say that this guy's motor is running, and I'm talking Marty Schottenheimer here. You got to respect what he's done and what he knows about football. Says Leslie O'Neal might be the best to play the position.
8th all-time on the career sack list. What a push, though, against Dave Zott by DeMarco Farr. And Gerbach uses Kansas City's final timeout. They just used one for the 2-point conversion. Select the Rams. The Chiefs are out of timeouts for the final 7:21 of the first half. Tony Banks throwing on the sideline while we are away, so it's obvious he is going to be returning. As Hasty just picked up his 2nd interception of the season to set up Gerbach in the offense at the 32. And on 2nd and long, the dump off is complete for Popson.
Popson is having a great football game, and so is Todd Light, who made the tackle. Todd, you know, when a guy catches a ball like that, just relax and make the tackle. He makes the tackle for a loss.
Inside of 7 minutes left in the first half.
Watch Todd Light. Just come up, break down, don't get all excited. Just make the tackle.
Now 3rd and long. Call it 3rd and a dozen. Anders trying to bend into the boundary. Too many blue jerseys there. And a field goal attempt coming up for Stojanovic, who's already hit from 52 yards away, a season long for him this year. And they capitalized and turned it into points because they did off the first turnover. They got a 25-yarder from Stojanovic, that last stop made by Lyle. 3 turnovers now for St. Louis.
Well, you can't turn the ball over. In the 90s, a study in the 90s, if you lose the turnover ratio by 1, you have 1 more turnover than your opponent, you lose the game 67% of the time.
From 42 yards away, Stojanovic is 3 for 3 on the afternoon. And officially now they say a 41-yarder for Stojanovic. They capitalized on the interception by Hasty. And now Kansas City with a 10-point lead over St. Louis. Right after our second half, the NFL.
Well, how many sports cliches can you put to that one? Do or die. Backs against the wall. Now or never.
I'm not stopping you. David Thompson trying to hang on to it. He's back deep.
A must-win situation. Game 7.
And the special teams come up with a play for the Rams. Give them some field position. Another long one. It'll be Thompson from the 2. Breaking a tackle. Did most of it on his own near the 30-yard line. Brought down finally by Darren Anderson in his 5th year out of Toledo. Field position's been a sore spot for the Rams over the first 7 games this year. This is the average position they start drives at prior to this one. KC at their own 46, the Rams back at the 24 is Tony Banks. Fortunately for the Rams is back in because Tony Banks has been a very hot quarterback for Dick Vermeil today.
Well, basically, Dick Vermeil has been playing on about a 76-yard field, which is long, and the Chiefs have been playing on a 54-yard field because of field position. Tremendous advantage.
Tight formation, a play fake for Banks. Going to wide, outside the tackle. They could have thrown it in the second deck that time. Isaac Brusso went over to the bench, hobbling a little bit, took a seat immediately.
Time he started this pattern, he went into a half-speed motion. Something happened to him.
Well, he's just back off the hamstring and finally 100%.
Oh, I tell you that. Oh, what a shame this would be.
Kennison is already out today, Beasley.
That pattern was designed to go to him. He gets into the pattern. About halfway down, he starts to jog, comes out of the break and runs, hobbles straight to the bench. We hope he's okay.
So now Torrance Small and Malcolm Floyd, the 2 wideouts. Lawrence Phillips running into a brick wall. Tom Barnes, about a pit in his 2nd season, 6th-round pick.
Isaac Bruce, they are working frantically on something. But here's the pattern. I hope it's just, look, right now, he's already in pain. He's come out of the route. It's that right leg. He's up on his toe. It's like, hopefully, Joel, it's just a cramp.
So now with their most dangerous weapon on the sideline, a 3rd and long for the Rams, 3rd and 10. 75% their success rate so far today, 24% though on the season on 3rd down conversions, one of the worst in the NFL. Pocket holds up for Banks, and a great grab past the 45. Keith Crawford has a 1st down. He got the start last week when Kennison was out.
This is a stylish catch. Man, I mean, just a super pattern. He's working against one of the best corners in the world in Dale Carter. Gets him turned, catches it with nothing but hands in traffic.
Dale didn't jam him, though. Dale told us yesterday he wanted to jam all day long.
No, he's playing off. He's playing off man for man, like 6-7 yards off the line.
Inside of 5 minutes left in the half. 17-7 Kansas City. 1st down St. Louis. The slant. Malcolm Floyd has another 1st down.
Tony Banks. The people in this dome need to start applauding.
Throwing some BBs.
This man is throwing bullets and right on target. Now, I started the program talking about how much he struggled, but when a man puts it together, and the coaches have just been waiting for a breakout day. Maybe this is a part of that.
8 of 11 passing, 121 yards now. Incompletions for Banks. 1st down to the 40. Phillips, huge hole over to the left side, can't get away. What a save. That was Donnie Edwards. And that's who Gunther Cunningham and Marty Schottenheimer were talking about regularly yesterday.
Well, I was about to say that Phillips was very slow getting to this hole, but that wasn't the case. Donnie Edwards, get this, coaches, runs a 4.48 40-yard dash at the linebacker position. So at 6'2", 240, he's faster than Phillips. So naturally he beat him to the hole. They're quietly saying that he might be faster than Derek Thomas.
Banks has all day, and he's got his receiver Small. Inside the 20, all the way inside the 10. Torrance Small, 1st and goal. Finally there for the free safety, Jerome Woods, but not before he picked up 30 yards.
Banks is putting on a show. You get a great look. They even tried to grab his jersey and pull him back and couldn't do it. Small was to get the start today. 6'3", a big target, 213 pounds, out of Alcorn State. Played a couple of seasons with the great Steve McNair.
Banks is coming over to the sideline. We've got 2:16 left in the half.
See, Banks was considering a timeout there, and he doesn't have one.
Well, actually, it was Kansas City that tried to call a timeout, but they don't have one either. So they get a delay of game call. This isn't the NCAA championship game, is it?
Let's make, don't go there. Don't go there. Let's make an announcement to these teams, please. Somebody, no one has any timeouts. Nobody.
Dick Vermeil has that look on his face as he says something to Jim Hannafin like, can't believe they didn't call it on us.
Well, Tony Banks was definitely walking over to call it. Somebody got his attention.
First and goal outside of the 4. Phillips bangs it up the middle, spinning, denied the end zone, but barely. Reggie Tung, the strong safety, wouldn't let go. It'll be second and goal. Is it official, even though it's inside of 2 minutes?
Well, they should be taking a little break here as the officials talk about it. The officials are calling it now.
Please reset the stadium clock to 1:51, and that is the 2-minute warning.
I was about to say this is the first game I've ever worked without a 2-minute warning.
Well, you know, timeouts, 2-minute warnings, these things are complicated.
We'll come right back to St. Louis.
Yes, that's me, Joe Phillips. You've seen me as part of my team, Kansas City Chiefs. And if you watch the NFL United Way TV spots, you've seen me and my family as part of the NFL United Way team, rallying the whole community to help renovate and repair housing for shut-ins and people who are dependent on help from volunteers.
In that program, we found not only people who needed help, but the great spirit of giving and caring that exists among all the volunteers who want to help.
As part of the fundraising campaign this year, Cynthia and I are very proud to have an impact on the problem. United Way's fundraising is very successful because it ensures your contribution works here in your community to make it a better community for all of us.
We feel that those dollars are well used and that the agencies understand.
That spirit of teamwork gives us the power to make our dreams for a better community a reality.
We're proud to be part of the NFL United Way team. The NFL, the United Way, and you. The power of teamwork.
10-point lead is in jeopardy now for Kansas City. Second and goal inside the 1 for St. Louis. We've got 1:51 left in a wild first 30 minutes of play. Coming up at the half, the Domino Pizza NFL on NBC halftime report. Ray Gumbel along with Chris Collinsworth and Sam Weiss. All the scores and highlights from the first half, the first games of our doubleheader. And a report on Game 7 of the World Series. Joel Myers along with Beasley Reese back in St. Louis. Now, both teams are definitely out of timeouts.
I think that's clear now. After both teams tried to call timeouts.
We just received word that Isaac Bruce is headed to the Rams locker room, but they say it's because of cramps. We'll be back to the second half.
Oh, that's great news.
Second and goal. Phillips, can he get there? Yes! Touchdown, St. Louis.
Down here in the dome, you better cover your ears.
Now, what does that tell you about the Rams growing as a group, doing that basically without Isaac Bruce and Kennison, who's not even suited up today?
I thought it was a very impressive drive, and I have been able to sense since the beginning of this game that this would be a better performance by the Rams.
Wilkins just gets it inside the upright. An anxious moment there. Phillips with a 1-yard run. It's only his second touchdown on the ground over the last 6 games. He has missed 1. So it's over the last 5. It was an 8 plays, 70-yard drive, taking a little bit than 4 minutes off the clock. Minute 48 left. Plenty of time for Kansas City, but they're out of timeouts.
We need to tell them that. Well, the touchdown was just simple, press blocking up front. Good lead block by Ironhead Hayward as he goes in and turns the outside guy out. Number 66, John Garrick, pulls at 300 pounds to hit the point of attack. Look at 66. Coming to the point of attack, Phillips goes right over the spot that he left and dives in for the 6.
Pick-me-up now. Can they maintain that kind of momentum from the defensive side?
You're looking at Lawrence Phillips, one of my favorite running back coming out of Nebraska that year. And he won't talk to the media, so I didn't get a chance to talk to him yesterday. I was so hurt. With someone who knows him tell him that we just love to meet him.
Man over from the 4. 4th best in the NFL with a 28-yard average, trying to get to the boundary. Good coverage job by the Rams, knocking him out shy of the 25, at the 23. So not the great field position that Kansas City has enjoyed for most of the first half, all the way back at their own 23-yard line.
Well, with a minute 43 left, it'll be fun to watch Elvis Gerbach if Marty decides to attempt to drive it down and get some points here. Classic 2-minute drill. You'll see the Rams in a conservative defense until they hit about midfield, and then you'll start to see some blitzing. They'll tighten it up, put a little more pressure.
They go trips to the far side and run Marcus Allen out of the backfield. A total sellout, and Gerbach gets away from the pressure. What a nifty move on a quarterback running into Mike Jones near the 30.
Boy, what a great call by Bud Carson. I'm expecting them to go conservative zone for a couple of plays, make them earn it. They go all-out blitz, even blitzing the safety Lyle, and Gerbach athletically gets away.
2nd and 3. O'Neill's after Gerbach, who does a good job to hang on to the ball. Another sack for O'Neill.
Marty Schottenheimer said it. He said he's the best to play the position. How prophetic by Marty as O'Neill gets his 2nd sack of the day. Just a quick hand check, hand slap, and body swat is what they call the actual technique, as he goes around Jeff Criswell, number 69.
That is 6 sacks on the year. His 2nd today.
He's got that look in his eye, too, see? Oh, man, he knows they have to pin their earbacks and throw.
The slant to Lake Dawson. And on 3rd and long, he's got the first down. The drive is still alive at the 34 despite the sack.
When I spoke to Leslie O'Neal yesterday, he said, because we're losing, I'm rarely in a situation where I know that the offense has to throw it. So here he finds himself in that situation.
With 30 seconds left in the half, Gerbach spikes it to stop the clock. It'll be 2nd and 10. Slim 3-point lead for Kansas City. They have scored on each of their last 3 possessions. 2 field goals from Stoyanovich of 52 and 41 yards. A 21-yard strike from Gerbach to Lake Dawson.
A tremendous spirit surrounding this game. As we came in, I bet there's 10,000 folks here from Kansas City. A lot of red jerseys in the stands, a lot of Kansas City fans, so a great competitive spirit even in the stands.
Pocket holds up. Gerbach's got a man over the middle. It's complete. Again to Popson. Or make it Gonzalez. 88, not 48 for the first down.
Well, I showed you the principle of a cover 2 as we watch Elvis spike the ball earlier. That was a cover 2, and the weakness in a cover 2 is right down the middle of the field, and that's what Kansas City exploited that time. I tell you, quarterbacks know where the ball, good ones know where the ball should go about 2 steps into the drop back. They recognize it's a cover 2 where the safeties take half the field. They know the soft points of that zone are right down the middle and up the sidelines.
Now Gerbach manufactures some points starting at his own 23 with no timeouts on the board. 17 seconds left in the half.
6 defensive backs in the game for the Rams.
O'Neal again gets to Gerbach.
Oh, Leslie O'Neal. Put on a show, big man.
And Gerbach is not getting up.
Oh, I hope he's okay. But Leslie O'Neal comes around and goes into a Superman dive. Somebody better celebrate him. Oh, man, what a play. Leslie O'Neal coming around the right side, and Criswell, he's killing Jeff Criswell. He is tying him up in a knot like a Christmas present. And Criswell is a fine player.
They don't have an option to that left tackle spot because Steve Wallace is inactive today.
Let me tell you something. If I'm coaching Kansas City, that's the last time I leave Criswell out on the island by himself. I'm going to have a running back, a tight end lined up on that side. Some way, somehow, he's going to get some help.
Trips over to the near side.
The running back help.
Play of the half. Gerbach in trouble losing the football. And wisely just knocks it out of bounds with flags at the end of the play.
Illegally batting the ball against the offense on the last play of the half. The half is over.
Well, that momentum from the offensive unit carried over to the defensive unit for the St. Louis Rams after the touchdown run by Lawrence Phillips. They pick up on it on the defensive side, and especially Leslie O'Neal. It's halftime, and the Rams claw their way back in it, trailing by only 3.
This is the Domino's Pizza NFL on NBC Halftime Report, brought to you by Domino's Pizza. Domino's, delivering 1 million smiles a day.
Those of you who have been watching the Battle of Missouri, welcome to our studios in New York. Along with Sam Weish and Chris Collinsworth, I'm Greg Gumbel. Here are the scores and highlights as we have them for you, beginning with the game in Buffalo between the Bills and the Denver Broncos, and the Broncos are up 10 as they start the second half. Maybe the worst hats in the world. I think that's the worst hats in the world. Milestone today for Bruce Smith of the Bills. He sacks John Elway to become the first player in NFL history with double-digit sacks in 11 seasons. Scoreless in the second, Bills quarterback Todd Collins is picked off by Tyrone Braxton, who goes 22 yards to the Buffalo 28. It led to a Jason Elam field goal and a 3-0 Denver lead. Then in the second quarter, Terrell Davis turned it up a notch. He goes up the middle 9 yards in the score. He is over 100 yards rushing in the first half, and Denver's lead is 10-0 for Davis, the AFC's leading rusher coming into this game, and now the NFL's leading rusher. 21 carries, 123 yards, and a touchdown. It's not so bad to be up half the night before a football game.
Maybe that's a good thing. We don't know here. But this is absolutely amazing to watch Terrell Davis and the way that he's working against this Buffalo Bills defense with Spielman and Pop and Bruce Smith and those guys. He's simply going right through them. I think this Bills defense is just simply frustrated with the play of their offense. About 50 yards of offense. They come out now in the second half, fumble the opening kickoff. Too much pressure on this Bills defense.
All right, Chris, Dallas is in Philadelphia. More trouble for the Cowboys today. They lead it 9-0. However, Troy Aikman knocked out of the game in the first quarter, a strained neck. We are told he has suffered a mild concussion. He's in street clothes. He will not return today. That can't be good news for Dallas.
It is not, certainly with all the problems they've had in Dallas. But the good news is that Wade Wilson, his replacement, has come in and really moved the team up and down the field. Their only problem, even the way it was with Troy Aikman, they haven't been able to get anything going in the red zone. They've been down there 3 times, come away with field goals each time.
All right, Chris, in the Meadowlands, the New York Giants trailing the Cincinnati Bengals at halftime. 21-10 is the score there. Jim Fossil's Giants riding a 4-game winning streak. 3-0 Giants in the first. Bengals opening possession. Corey Dillon scores on the 1-yard plunge, and Cincy leads 7-3. However, after a pass interference call on the end zone, Charles Way of the Giants from a yard out, and the Giants lead 10-7 in the second. This is the ensuing kickoff. This is Eric Bieniemy. This is a hole in the Giants' defense. This is a touchdown run if he can get past Brad Deluiso. This is a touchdown run. 102 yards, a franchise record for the Bengals. Cincinnati up 14-10, and then just before the end of the half, Jeff Blake to David Dunn. Over the middle, he'll take it the rest of the way. 39 yards and a touchdown for another Bengals score. The Bengals lead at 21-10, and for the first time since opening day, the Bengals are looking good, Sam.
Yeah, Mama said there'd be days like this. And it's in New York right now. You know, you let your guard down just a little bit in this league, and a team that's only won one game can come up and play. But this is midseason. It's pride check time. The Bengals are coming through. Halftime, Jim Fossil, this is the most important halftime talk you'll make all year long right now.
Pride check comes along just before Thanksgiving every year.
Every year,
okay.
Along with the dressing.
In the game at Jack Kent Cooke Stadium in Washington, the Redskins trail the Baltimore Ravens 14-7. Ravens coach Ted Marchibroda says his team has to get mentally tougher after 3 straight losses. Vinny Testaverde gets them going on the opening drive to Derek Alexander, 13 yards and a 7-0 Baltimore lead. Redskins come right back. Gus Frerotte, time to throw. Pumps once, lofts it up. Leslie Shepard is there, 15 yards, tie game at 7. And then Bam Morris caps a 22-play drive. From 4 yards out, he's over 100 yards in the first half. Baltimore regains the lead, and that's the way they stand right now. 14-7, the Ravens in the lead on the Redskins. The 6-1 San Francisco 49ers in New Orleans with a 13-0 lead on the Saints, who are 2-6. And in the game that you are watching in St. Louis, the Chiefs are leading the Rams at halftime. 17-14 is the score. Marty Schottenheimer's Chiefs looking for franchise win number 300. Tony Banks, a 13-yard strike to Isaac Bruce, put the Rams up 7-3. Second quarter at 7-6, St. Louis. Elvis Gerbach to Lake Dawson in the end zone, 21 yards. And the Chiefs, after a 2-point conversion, take a 14-7 lead. Lawrence Phillips with a 1-yard run, his 5th of the season. At the break, it's the Chiefs leading by a field goal. Sam.
You know, as you watch this ball game, you felt like the Chiefs had control of it. They may be the quietest 6-2 team in the National Football League, but the Rams just kept staying in it. And with Lawrence Phillips' touchdown right before the half, they still have life. Kansas City's let him back in there.
Okay, 5-2 if they win right now, as then you are in a hurry to put them on the board for a W.
No, I'm just wrong.
All right, thanks, Sam. This final note from the world of football. Rankin Smith, the 72-year-old owner of the Atlanta Falcons, died today of heart failure in Atlanta, and we send our condolences out to his family. When we come back, a report on Game 7 of the World Series. We'll take you down to Miami right after these words from your local station.
This is the Domino's Pizza NFL on NBC Halftime Report, brought to you by Domino's Pizza. Domino's, delivering 1 million smiles a day.
Greg Gumbel back in our New York studio. We called last weekend Must-See Weekend. Today is Must-See Sunday. The second half of our NFL doubleheader features the big AFC Central matchup in Pittsburgh between the Steelers and the Jacksonville Jaguars. And following football at 7 o'clock Eastern Time, 2 of the most magical words in sports. Game 7. The World Series comes to a fitting climax in Miami. The Florida Marlins and the Cleveland Indians. With a report, Hannah Storm, Keith Olbermann, and Barry Larkin.
Thanks, Greg. The stadium sits empty now, but in a little more than 5 hours, this will be the center of the sports world. And more than 67,000 fans will be here for what is considered the greatest game in sports, Game 7. We're joined by Reds All-Star shortstop Barry Larkin. His thoughts on tonight's game in just a few moments. But first, Keith, Mike Hargrove making a big decision for today's game.
And another second-generation major leaguer in the spotlight. Hargrove made a bold decision to start his 21-year-old rookie Jarrett Wright in Cleveland's biggest game in nearly 50 years. And moments after Wright learned he was officially starting, we talked about his improbable season. The season opened with you doing what on opening day?
I was pitching for the Akron Arrows in Double-A, and it was opening night there. It was just, I was happy at the time. And
the season ends with you
tomorrow throwing Game 7 of the series, and it's been a long road. It's been fun. I'm having a great time. Just one more time.
It's been a long road. You got a long way, but it happened kind of fast, didn't it? In 1 year to go from pitching the Double-A opener in the Eastern League to pitching the 7th game of the World Series.
Yeah, that's a long road to me. We had a lot of bus rides and
Hey, I've been to the Eastern League. I know
a lot of different apartments, moving around, and hopefully I can settle in here and settle in tomorrow.
His manager, Mike Hargrove, says Jarrett Wright is not cocky. He has the blissful ignorance of youth.
Meanwhile, on the other side, the Marlins start Al Leiter, who had a rough outing previously in the World Series. Never know what to expect from this guy, Barry.
That's the thing about Al Leiter. He can come out and walk the ballpark, or he can go out and throw a shutout. I think the thing to look for is that if he is ineffective early, he'll get the quick hook.
Perhaps we could see their rookie, Livan Hernandez, early in this game. Okay, who do you like?
Well, I got to play both these guys next year. We got to face Indians in interleague play, and, we got to come down here. So I'm going to ride the fence on this one.
Oh, you're not going to pick either one. Okay, well, we will find out soon enough. Our pregame coverage starts at 7 o'clock Eastern. Now let's get it back to Greg Gumbel in New York.
Well, the Cleveland Indians have waited 49 years to win a World Series, and they're handing the ball to 21-year-old Jarrett Wright. It should be interesting. Our NFL and NBC halftime activities continue.
Showdown in the Show Me State continues in a tight one after the first 30 minutes of play, with Kansas City leading St. Louis by only 3, 17-14. Joel Myers along with Beasley Reese, and the dry spell finally ended for Tony Banks and the Rams offense after going 11 consecutive quarters without a touchdown.
Well, you know what? It was good to see, because this Rams team is playing a lot better today. I think it has to do with the interstate, a lot of spirit in the stands, a lot of KC fans. And then Banks threw some great balls today. I mean, he hit Isaac Bruce for the first touchdown. This is the score. They lined up in a bunch formation, one-on-one against one of the best corners in the league, Dale Carter, and he beats him for the first touchdown, and that really got it going and set the stage for what is turning out to be a fine football game.
And all of a sudden, though, Kansas City got their offense going, took a 10-point advantage, 17-7 before the Rams bounced back, and then the Rams defense over the final 2 minutes. What a pick-me-up for them going to the locker room, and especially Leslie O'Neal.
I was surprised when Marty Schottenheimer said that he considers Leslie the best guy maybe to ever play the position. Now, I know he's great. I know he's 8th all time, and he's climbing if he keeps doing this today, but 3 sacks and a half. I mean, this guy has really got his motor going, and that's exactly what Marty said.
Well, it was a real difficult day offensively for the St. Louis Rams, picking up first downs in particular. Last Sunday, only 10 first downs the entire contest compared to 27 for the Seattle Seahawks, but already they've topped that total over the first 30 minutes of play with the Coors Light halftime stats. They've got 13 compared to 10 for Kansas City, and topping them in total offense by a good margin as well.
Well, we had the game last week against Seattle, and the numbers were very different. I mean, you can tell that Seattle was kicking St. Louis all over the football field. But look at the difference here. St. Louis more than competitive, but leading in every category. Here is the big one that's killing them. You can't turn the ball over 3 times, wipe away those turnovers, and there's no telling who would be leading this game. I venture to guess that it would be the St. Louis Rams.
Would you say the key to the second half now is hanging onto your timeouts?
Yeah, I think they need to get their timeout counting system down also. I mean, both of these teams a little bit embarrassing trying to call timeouts when they had none, and that's a critical thing to keep tab on.
Mark Vanover from the goal line, wrapped up early. Great special teams play by the young man who brings it back for the Rams, David Thompson.
And this was one of the worst special teams when it comes to kickoff coverage in the National Football League, and Tamarick Vanover averaging 27.7 around the top of the NFL, so that is a surprise, another surprise by this St. Louis team.
Well, let's see if there's any ill effects on Elvis Gerbach, because he was pancaked at the end of the half by Leslie O'Neal. Got up very slowly. The fighter had taken a real hard punch from the 18. Kansas City has it 1st and 10, leading by 3. Available late. Dawson stretches out, but he couldn't hang on. What an effort.
Great effort, and let me tell you what you should notice here offensively. They've gone to very quick drops. 3-step drops. The ball is out of Elvis's hand quickly in order to neutralize. Boy, I tell you, that was so close to a catch. To neutralize the rush of the Rams, in particular, Leslie O'Neal.
Greg Hill starting in the backfield. In the eye, along with Kimball Anders. Not much of a ground game in the first half. And they get it going in the second half. The linebacker, Robert Jones, waiting for Hill after he surged past the 20 to the 22. Give him the 23. defense, one of the few bright spots for this team over the first 7 games. Came in 10th overall in the NFL. Very effective, 9th best at stopping the pass. It's Ryan McNeil, who's got 6 picks so far this season. Now, can they deny him on 3rd and 5 with a 3 wide receiver set? Gerbach with time and a receiver available. Marcus Allen, his first reception. He's only been in there for a couple of snaps anyway in the first half.
Well, he runs that pattern just like a wide receiver. Always has been built like a wide receiver also. Look, long and thin, and you get a strong safety out there covering one-on-one when you flex the running back out, and he's not accustomed to covering that type of pattern. Good play, good throw.
He had a lot of room to move, a big cushion given up by that safety you're talking about, Toby Wright. 10 the grab, first down. Play fake for Gerbach. Pressure comes, and Mike Jones can't bat it away from Tony Gonzalez. Talk about a battle. There's some power. Gonzalez against Jones, out to the 40.
It takes a lot 41. It takes a lot of strength, Joel, in order to catch this ball when you've got a linebacker right on your back like that. So Mike Jones is in perfect position, but the strength of rookie first-round draft pick Tony Gonzalez, he still fights and battles. And, you know, Marty talked about him battling and fighting for things in practice. So no surprise he's doing it here in the game.
Second, a little more than 2. Gerbach with the blitz coming, dumps it off, and a spin gets the first down for Donnell Bennett. Robert Jones with the face of the quarterback. And they should have enough for the first down. Mike Jones pulling him down, the linebacker, whose dad was in town last night from Kansas City. Mike, what a great story out of Southwest High School in Kansas City. His dad, they had a special party for him last night, his dad Leroy, because he retired after 32 years with the Postal Service. So all the family was in town. And the Jones family last night.
That had to be nice. Mike is 6'1", 240, and a good son.
Celebrating the Missouri Tigers' overtime victory over Oklahoma State on the road at Stillwater yesterday. Back-to-back wins for the Tigers now, so a lot of talk in St. Louis about the success of that program. Mike, a former running back who was a world leaguer and converted to linebacker at that point after his college career at Mizzou.
I'll tell you what's special about him, though. He has the 52s special camp for the physically and mentally challenged children and adults. And that's what's special. You can make all the tackles you want, but when you start helping people, that's why I like him.
Quality person. First down, Kansas City. 2.5 minutes into the second half. Blitz again on Gerbach. And they get to the Chiefs quarterback with a flag down on the play. Jones & Jones, the law firm. Mike and Robert. Offside, St. Louis. No wonder they got there so quickly.
Still, I mean...
Defensive nose tackle number 79 was lined up in the neutral zone. 5-yard penalty. Repeat the down.
3 times last week, the Rams simply lined up offside.
See, you can't do that. You can't do that. So, you know, lined up in the neutral zone at the nose guard position, and that's what shocks coaches. The nose guard has the ball underneath his nose. I mean, if anyone should be offside, I mean, should be onside, it's the guy lining up directly over the football. That'll make him go crazy.
That's Bill Johnson. It cost the Rams 20 yards. The sack was back inside the 30, and now it's 1st and 5 at the 48. Good protection this time. Gerbach has Rison. Rison at the 30. And Andre Rison. That's his second, make it his 3rd grab of the day. His 2nd grab of the day for a first down.
See, I'll tell you what makes Andre crazy is that's what he does when you throw him the ball. And it's almost impossible to cover him man for man. This is a zone. That's why you see the defender just kind of laying back off of him, Ryan O'Neal. But every time you feature the guy, this is the type of production he puts up. I told you earlier, his goal for the season, to shut people's mouths. I asked him how was he going to do it. He said by returning to being the best in the world.
Donnell Bennett just following the pile for 3 down to the 27. Chiefs should have known it was going to be a special relationship between Rison and Elvis Gerbach after that Oakland game on a Monday night. Some kind of finish. Touchdown pass with 3 seconds left.
some guys have to play with a chip on their shoulder, and I think Andre is that way. Every time I talk to him, he's mad about something, but it fuels his fire. He plays with such emotion.
Opening drive of the second half, 2nd and 7. Gerbach finds some time. Incomplete. Inside the 25, going for Kimball Anders. Anders probably wishes he would have thrown him to the second deck. He was outside the tackle.
This is great effort by the Rams defense. I mean, these guys are flying around. The rushers are committed, truly trying to get to the quarterback. See, these are 300-pound men chasing the quarterback and they've been doing it all game long. This has been a good defense all season.
Now can they convert on 3rd down? 4 of 9 so far today. Gerbach changing the play. Delay of game. The audible cost him.
Repeat the down, 3rd down.
But he didn't waste a timeout.
Well, Bud Carson is so smart. I mean, just the disguising of the defense. They lined up in one thing. Elvis recognized it and audible out of the play that they were in, obviously, because it wouldn't work against that front. Then, as he's called in the snap count, they move into an all-out blitz. Elvis knows the play has no shot, so he sits there and he allows the clock to run out. Probably a good move by Elvis.
Ryan McNeil calls Bud Carson the wizard. Dick Vermeil says he's a professor of football. Number of different coverages. Gerbach, the quick hitter for Popson. Can he get to the marker? No, he's short of the 1st down at the 22. So a very efficient opening drive to the second half to the Kansas City Chiefs, but they stall once they get that 1st down at the Rams 30.
Popson is having such a fantastic season. This guy went to Portland State. Got very good hands. That's how he's able to keep the young Tony Gonzalez down on the bench.
Stoyanovich outside of the 29, a 39-yard attempt on its way. Dead solid perfect. He is 4 for 4 on the afternoon. Little breathing room. Only a 6-point lead, though, for Kansas City with 10:09 left in the 3rd.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by Volkswagen. On the road of life, there are passengers and there are drivers. By Schick, the feel of smart design. By Northwestern Mutual Life. Have you heard from the Quiet Company? And by Texaco, a world of energy.
Back in St. Louis, Joel Myers along with Beasley Reese. 10:09 left in the 3rd quarter. Field goal by Stoyanovich, his 4th of the day, gives Kansas City a 6-point lead. As David Thompson goes back deep. Isaac Brusso, the good news, is back for the Rams and ready to go offensively. Cramped up at the end of the 1st half, headed to the locker room early. And now Thompson takes it from the 6. Another nice return, holding onto it across the 25. They'll give him the 28. Reggie Tung on the special team stop.
I noticed Thompson in practice yesterday when we watched them do their Saturday workout. Very quick, excellent balance, and, we have noticed that on the last 2 kickoffs. He's got some potential.
He is a rookie out of Oklahoma State. Isaac Brusso, who caught more passes in the first 3 years of his career than anyone else in NFL history, is back there for the Rams. He had 224 receptions over his first 3 seasons. Hayward in motion. Phillips racked up early, falling forward for 2. Well, that lack of sleep was not affecting the Denver Broncos on the road today. Got in the wee small hours of the morning with a 19-0 lead. Troy Aikman, as Greg Gumbel told us, out of that contest. Dallas is still on top, though. And the Ravens hanging on. Now 2nd and long for St. Louis from their own 30. Pitching in, and they strip it away from Banks. Who comes up with it? The Kansas City Chiefs have the football. recovery. He didn't feel that heat from the blind side once again. Fourth turnover of the day for St. Louis. Kansas City at the St. Louis 21 when we come back. Only his second game back with the tricep injury. Derek Thomas, the big playmaker once again for the Kansas City Chiefs, forcing that second fumble of the game and 6th of the year from Tony Banks.
Tony Banks was playing so good, and now, you know, you allow this to happen. Now he's carrying the ball with two hands. Everything you're supposed to do, that's not Banks' fault. If he was dangling that ball around with one hand, I would be blaming Tony Banks. They coach you to keep two hands on the ball. He had two hands on the ball. The blocking let him down.
So now inside the 22. Kansas City operating against the Rams defensive unit that was only on the sideline for 2 snaps. Greg Hill hangs on inside the 20. They tried to rake it away. Gets down to the 17 for just about 5. Leslie O'Neal tried to scrape that ball away on the tackle.
Well, I don't know what more they could ask of Leslie O'Neal. This is a Pro Bowl game.
Out of the 17. Second, a little more than 4. Gerbach, the quick hitter. And what a grab from behind by the tight end Tony Gonzalez. He showed the hands of a basketball player there, a soft touch.
I tell you, this guy is so good. I mean, this ball is behind him. Basketball really makes you a great athlete. Look at this. Reaches out behind him, catches it with his hands, advancing the football.
One of the reasons the Golden Bears of California out of the Pac-10 went to the Sweet 16 in basketball last year. First and goal, Kansas City. Huge hole for Marcus Allen. Closes in a hurry, and he only gets 2. They stop him just inside the 4. Chubby Wright got there. He leveled a shot on Marcus Allen. What an amazing physical specimen in his 16th year out of USC. You watched him. Marcus Allen was walking the field a good 2.5 hours before the game.
Well, he knows, you know, at his age, takes him a while to warm up, takes great care of his body. He was out here early working, getting ready for this moment.
Second and goal. Gannon Hughes, the motion man. Gerbach about to be hit by O'Neal. It's loose. Kansas City covers it with a flag in the secondary, where you normally see a defensive holding call, and Gerbach really took a shot.
Leslie O'Neal is going to break. If they give him a sack here, I mean, Derek Thomas sacked a guy like 7 times in one game, or 8 for the NFL record.
4, the 5 for the Rams today.
Number 35, defense. Half the distance to the goal line.
Automatic first and goal over again. They call it on Keith Lyle, the free safety, as Grunhard did cover the ball. As it turns out, it wouldn't have made a difference had the Rams come up with the loose stuff. How tough is Gerbach? The shots he's taken from O'Neal alone today.
Well, he's young. I'll tell you something. That was an older guy. This is just a straight-out Superman shot from a standing position. Poor Criswell. I feel sorry for Criswell now. They've got to do something to give him some help.
Now they're jumbo formation. Marcus Allen, 116 touchdowns on the ground, number 1 in NFL history. Sets up in the eye. Allen, he's in. Make it 117.
That touchdown belongs to Derek Thomas. Beating the blocker, coming around, stripping Tony Banks of the football, and creating this opportunity for his team, a very short field. Derek Thomas's play created about a 15, 17-yard football field for his team to have to cover to score.
Again, points off turnovers killing the Rams. They already got a couple of field goals from Stoyanovich on turnovers in the first half. And now the touchdown, and they'll go for 2 again. They split out Marcus Allen over to the wide side, over to the far side. Wide open underneath. It's the tight end, Tony Gonzalez again. Kansas City makes it look easy. The Chiefs go up by 2 touchdowns now. 7:01 left in the third. 28-14 Gerbach in Kansas City.
Today on the NFL on NBC, Denver's rising star Terrell Davis reflected on the joys of playing in the NFL.
Game ball for TD and the offensive line.
These are really the prime times of my life. I think these are the days that I'm going to cherish most, playing football, and I'm having a ball.
Don't miss the NFL on NBC next Sunday.
Pride of San Diego, Marcus Allen, giving Kansas City another touchdown. 117 on his career. And a 14-point lead. Now David Thompson, the line drive from Stoyanovich. From the 3. Almost bolted on that one. Well, that was 117 for Marcus Allen. Looking back at the first, it was all the way back in 1982. Very first game of his NFL career. The Oakland Raiders taking on San Francisco 49ers. And on the day, Marcus Allen, well, that was his only score, but he went over the century mark with 116 yards on 23 carries. 8 now ahead of Emmitt Smith. Finally got his first one for the Dallas Cowboys this season. Career rushing touchdowns at 117. They spot him so well this year. Now the toss sweep. Phillips cuts it back. Inside, takes it to the 30 for 3. And it's interesting the way they're utilizing Marcus Allen this year as opposed to the other seasons he's been with the Kansas City Chiefs. Derek Thomas in on that stop again.
Appropriate. It's 16 years. I mean, you can't run a guy. So he comes in, he gets his touchdown, he comes in on a pass play. After his touchdown, he walked through the lineup of his teammates, shaking everybody's hand, inspiring everyone. Elvis Gerbach talked about watching him do his work every day. You know, Elvis has had the great pleasure of watching Steve Young, watching Jerry Rice, watching Marcus Allen. How good is that? You know, that's how you learn how to be a pro.
Guarantee they'll be on Banks once again here in St. Louis. And he's a timeout to avoid a delay of game call. Come right back with 6:08 left in the third. Kansas City trying to stay in the driver's seat.
You're watching the NFL on NBC.
It's a 2-touchdown advantage for the Kansas City Chiefs. The Show Me State Showdown, and welcome back to St. Louis. 2nd and 7 now at the 30. Banks moving the pocket. And hitting Isaac Bruce for the first time in the second half. He's got a first down across the 40.
Clean play. This play has the net effect of a sweep or a pitch on an option play. Bootleg by the quarterback, and he just leads Isaac Bruce. Bruce came in, turned out. Very safe, high percentage play, easy first down.
They've got to get the ball to Bruce more often in the second half to get back into the contest. He's on the wide side of the field, matching up with Mark McMillan, who we took to school a couple of times in the first half. And Banks is in trouble. Eluding the first man. And general direction of Bruce by about 15 yards, I guess. But at least he avoided the sack.
I'll tell you what, that was close.
He showed his arm strength.
That was close to being disastrous. Well, his receiver saw him in trouble. That's good strength. His receiver saw him in trouble and came back to him. Banks can't see him right now. He knows that he was headed toward the corner, so he lifts it high and up toward the corner. It was Kevin Lockett, number 81. Kevin thought he was helping by coming back to the quarterback, and that's what he's supposed to do.
Derek Thomas was on the base side, working up against the left tackle, opposite side this time. That pressure again on Banks, gets it away, and what a grab with a flag down on the play. Will they give it to Malcolm Floyd? Yes, for a first down to the 49 with the flag down. scoop, though, by the wide receiver.
Holding number 44, defense. The penalty will be declined. First down.
That's the extra defensive back, Darren Anderson, fifth year out of Toledo. Dick Vermeil said that Orlando Pace was going to have to box his rounds, get some experience, and he's gone at least 12 rounds already today because he's matched up so often with Derek Thomas.
Well, this is a great part of his development.
First down for the 49. Completion to the sideline. Floyd did a good job to get both feet in for another first down. The young man out of Fresno State pulled it off in front of Mark McMillan.
See, this is just a young team. Young teams. The Rams are playing some good football. This is a good pattern, a good throw by the quarterback. The Rams have moved the ball. It's the turnovers that are killing them. I mean, they've turned the ball over 4 times.
Are they trying to compensate for deficiencies on the offensive line by these designed movements in the pocket?
Absolutely. I mean, that's why you run rollouts. That's why you run bootlegs to keep the defense from just pinning their ears back and rushing fast.
Phillips going to get into the secondary. Priest closed in a hurry. And he only gets 2 to the 36. Brought down by Dan Williams.
They have to keep running Lawrence Phillips, though. I mean, the success that they're having in the pass plays are set up in part by the fact that they are still running. See, 17 rushes is a good number of running plays for a football team. If he gets 20, 25 for the game, that'll be about right.
Drive started back at the St. Louis 27. Now from the 36 of Kansas City, 2nd and 8. Phillips again. Can't get to the outside. Great play with a free safety. Jerome Woods, Browning over there as well.
See, the hole was there. The hole is there. Phillips sees the hole, but he's not anticipating, maybe not respecting would be a better way to put it, the speed of the linebackers for Kansas City. I mean, he's jumping in a hole that includes Derek Thomas, John Browning. These are unusually fast athletes.
Lee takes over as the single set on 3rd and 9. Banks in trouble early. Going for the end zone for Isaac Bruce. And overthrowing Isaac Bruce as he got away from McMillan.
Just a really good game plan by the Rams. Even though the play's not successful, moving the pocket gives him time to create. He overthrows the receiver there, but he does, avoid the pressure. By doing that, they get more receivers out into the route, out into the pattern.
It is going to be the first punt of the afternoon for the Rams and Mike Horan.
See, that shows you they've been doing great. First punt. It's the turnovers they lose the ball.
All or nothing at all for St. Louis today. So Mark Vanover lets it go over his head.
That's a great play.
Super tip. Keith Crawford, who leads them in special team stops, made sure he wasn't in the end zone first.
What a dream play.
And now they're going to say that his foot must have been on the goal line.
Oh, unfortunate, because that was a dream effort.
Time out of the field, Kansas City with breathing room and set their own 2-yard line. They'll have it at the 20 after the touchback. From the 20, quick hitter for Kimball Anders with flags down on the play. And a pickup of 7 for the Kansas City Chiefs. Bob McElwee, the referee today. Against Kansas City once again.
Number 62 did not report. That's an illegal formation. 5 yards. Repeat the down. First down.
Glenn Parker usually sets up at right tackle. And We look back at the special teams and almost a superb play.
Keith Crawford, number 81, you see he puts his foot right on the line right there. So the effort was there, the timing. Look at the height. Look at the elevation he gets on the jump. The idea is, of course, to bat it back into his teammate. Super effort, but he did step on the line.
Kansas City has scored on 5 of their last 6 possessions. And now it's a 1st and 15 from the 15 with the blitz coming. Dumping it off to Hill. Great open field tackle outside. The quarterback Ryan McNeil, very quiet day for him. They haven't picked on his side of the field all that often in a gain of 3.
Ryan almost had an interception early in the game, and then his other plays have been plays like this, coming up in run support. See how he keeps outside leverage. You don't want to miss a guy and let him get running free up the sideline. Outside leverage, and the running back, you notice, did not go inside, even though he took outside, because there's trouble in there. The rest of the Rams are coming from in there.
Play clock winding down on a 2nd and 12. And Kansas City used a timeout.
Timeout. Kansas City. That is their first choice timeout.
Down to 2 timeouts remaining, and the difference in the game right now, the St. Louis turnovers. They've committed 4 so far. Kansas City, of course, had a lot to do with it, but Kansas City has taken those 4 and they've translated into 14 points off the turnovers.
Well, if you commit four turnovers and your opponents don't match your 4, you can't win. History teaches us that if you lose the turnover ratio by 1, 67% of the time in the 90s, you lose the football game. So they're losing the turnover ratio by 4. It's almost impossible.
Don't forget, coming up next on most of these NBC stations, Game 2 of our NFL doubleheader. Some of you will see the Raiders taking on the Seahawks, others the Jaguars and Steelers, or the Colts and Chargers. Check your local listings for the game in your area. The NFL on NBC continues, and then Game 7 of the World Series tonight. What a day. 2 minutes left in the 3rd quarter, and another timeout taken by Gerbach. And it's going to be a delay of game instead. Originally, he tried to get a timeout.
Well, there.
Offense, consecutive timeouts by the same team are not allowed.
We've seen it all, partner.
Well, we've seen it all. We need to pull out the timeout manual. Consecutive timeouts are not allowed. As a result, they get the delay of game penalty.
And as we saw in the first half, in the final 2 minutes, Kansas City tried to call a timeout when they didn't have one remaining. Shades of the NCAA championship game of the past. And they were cited on a 1st and goal situation to the 9. They were on defense at the time. Took it down outside of the 4 for St. Louis. They eventually scored on a touchdown run by Phillips. Now 2nd and 17. And it hits Gonzalez in the back. So a breakdown for Kansas City. Let's get an update now and check in once again with Greg Gumbel. Greg?
All right, Joel, just a short while ago, Andre Reed of the Bills dropped a short touchdown pass. Not this time, 4th quarter. Alex Van Pelt down the middle, 27 yards. Reed holds on, takes the hit in the end zone, and the Denver Broncos now lead at 20-7 with just under 10 minutes to play in regulation, Joel.
All right, Greg, you don't even want to talk to Denver about Bills comebacks in the second half, and especially the last 10 minutes of games there at Rich Stadium. Don't even bring up that subject. Now, 3rd and forever. And Gerbach wisely throws it away. So the Rams should get solid field position now on the change of possession.
Well, you never know about the Rams when it comes to special teams play. They've got a great coach in Frank Gantz, but they have been blowing it. And the pocket sort of collapses. It doesn't really collapse around Elvis, but for some reason he comes out of there, buys himself a little extra time.
Only the 2nd punt of the afternoon for Louis Agnew. Beauty with the first of 60 yards. A wobbler this time. It'll head out of bounds in Kansas City territory at the Chiefs' 47.
Well, a short football field. The Rams have a 57-yard football field, a 47-yard football field to play on.
And this is the first time this afternoon. The Rams are going to start in Kansas City territory with the ball. You couldn't tell that Marty Schottenheimer was leading off that last shot by 14 points.
He's not really leading. The other team is giving him the lead. You know, his team isn't coming out and playing like a 5-2 team.
Phillips can't get out of the backfield again. And that's been the story since early in the game. He got most of his yardage in the early portion of the second quarter. 10-point lead now for the Broncos, updating you on all the other scores. And finally, the Eagles get on the board with another field goal from Bonio. Giants battling back. What a great story the New York Giants have been this year at 5-3.
It's the quarterback change. Danny Cannell won the last two for him with good solid play.
3 wide receiver formation. 2nd and 13. Banks with time. And his receiver cannot hang on. Malcolm Floyd. Darren Anderson on the tight coverage.
That's exactly what they wanted to do. They wanted to put 2 receivers to one side. 1 receiver normally draws man-for-man coverage on the other side. They got what they wanted. The throw is low and away from the defender, and Floyd couldn't hold on.
Final minute here in the third quarter. Now are the Rams going to waste with great field position. Make it 3rd and 13. Keith Crawford hangs on this time, going up top. They'll bring it in at the 33. And who's working on the much smaller Darren Anderson.
Keith Crawford has a lot of game in him. Tall, 6'2", 190. And if you noticed, he catches every ball, you know, with his hands. He's not one of these guys that tries to jump up and cradle the ball. When you catch with your hands, you have a wider range, a variance range for the quarterback to miss. So this was a little bit high. So what? I catch with my hands. If it's a little bit low, so what?
Banks on first down. A bullet to Crawford once again.
Tell you what, I talked about this last week watching the Seattle game. I thought the drops were too deep. They should run some quicker patterns. These are curls and quick slants, and they're doing a good job with them.
That's the final play of a very productive third quarter for Kansas City. We'll come right back to St. Louis after these messages from your local station.
Broadcast is presented by the authority of the National Football League and is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the NFL is prohibited.
Welcome back to St. Louis. Joel Myers along with Beasley Reese as we start the fourth and final 15 minutes of regulation. A 14-point lead for Kansas City. On 2nd and short, it's Phillips into the secondary. And Lawrence Phillips has a first down to the 13-yard line.
That's the Lawrence Phillips that they know and love in Cornhusker country. No hesitation, hits the hole hard. I still don't like the way he finished the play. He's too big and powerful. This guy's like 240 almost. At the end of this play, look how he's kind of pulled sideways. Just lean in there and power through that little hand tackle. It's easy for me to say sitting up here with Joel, right, Joel?
And Hasty's waiting for him with a forearm shiver.
The little bitty Hasty, man, he needs to run over him.
Phillips again with a flag on the play, and he's dropped for a loss of a couple back at the 16-yard line. 21st carry of the day for Lawrence Phillips, 63 yards so far. Offside, though, Kansas City. So they have made the commitment to the ground game.
They have to. They have to, Joel, for balance, and they've done a good job. I think they've been very patient because
5 yards. Repeat the down. First down.
sometimes an offensive coordinator will try to, you get a little nervous. He's down a few points. He'll start just jacking it up. Well, that's when you get guys sacked and intercepted. That's when the defense knows that you're going to pass, so they put in all kinds of blitzes. Jerry Rome has done a good job calling this game plan for the Rams today.
It's outside of the 8. It is now 1st and 5. So a break for the Rams after a loss of 2 on the Phillips carry. Banks flushed out. Looking for Bruce. Poked away at the last second. What a play by Mark McMillan.
Good job. Good job all around. Good job on offense. Good job defense. Banks found a way to buy himself a little more time with the scramble. Bruce converted to help his quarterback, and the defensive back, McMillan, makes a great play.
And Bruce is cramping up once again. You can see the pain in his face after the play.
Here he is on the rollout, getting free. Waits to the very last second and takes a shot at it. And, McMillan is in good position the entire time here. He makes a real nice play, taking the right hand, knocking the ball away.
Now 2nd and 5. Amp Lee curling his way and spinning inside the 6. Give him the 5 before Reggie Tung finally got to him. Playing catch-up has been very difficult over the first 7 games this year for the St. Louis Rams. In fact, they're second from the bottom in 4th quarter scoring.
Well, they have no game. This is the first game where really they've had some strut. I mean, they're actually moving the ball if they can stop fumbling and intercepting and messing up.
They've killed themselves with turnovers.
Football term, messing up. They're in position now.
3rd and 3. Can Phillips get it done? He should have enough for the first down. He is inside the 4, down to the 3. It'll depend upon the spot. Again, the safety Woods this time getting to the running back. Yeah, will it be 1st and goal? Looks that way from up here, but they'll bring in the chains.
Well, they're in a situation where they've got a lot of time. You're talking 12 minutes 51 left in the game. They need 2 touchdowns and something else to win. So, you can take the something else now.
They have it by the length of the football. 1st and goal, St. Louis.
Well, you know what you do now, but had they not have made it, just mathematically, they needed 2 touchdowns to tie and something else to win.
And Kansas City has capitalized on 2 two-point conversion tries today.
Yes, in order to make the numbers right. KC has done a great job since the kickoff.
The jumbo formation on 1st and goal. Lawrence Phillips tripped up early. They torpedoed that play in the backfield. He got it inside the 2, though. Vaughn Booker there.
Now, I'm not a big fan of the jumbo formation unless you're like inches from the touchdown line. But what it does is you bunch your offense up, but guess what? You bunch the defense up. You put all the defenders right there also. So I like to see these teams spread people out in these when they need 3 and 4 yards for a touchdown.
2nd and goal to the 2. Phillips got it very late. Takes it down to the 1. Almost like Tony Banks had to stretch out to give him the handoff.
Something there was amiss.
Tracy Simeon knocking down the running back that time, along with Tom Barnes.
So now you can't sit here and bang it like that 4 times. At some point you got to spread the defense. You got a big athlete, let him run a quarterback draw if it's not there.
3rd and goal inside the 2. Kansas City by 14. Inside 11 and a half minutes left in the game. Banks throws it over the head
he throws
of
it
his
away.
target.
He throws it away. Nothing there.
You're down by 2 scores. It has to be 4 down territory.
Well, see, I don't know that it is. That's what I was talking about earlier. You can make it 4 down, but you need 2 touchdowns. It's 4 down territory if you're just concerned about tying the game.
Well, if you get that field goal in overtime, though.
Well, like I said, I think he certainly has a choice here. He can go for it, which he's going to do, or he can kick it, because he needs 2 touchdowns and something else to win anyway.
Still another very tight formation. Phillips in motion on 4th and goal with flags down in the play. And did the clock run out on them once again? Oh. Well, the indecisiveness of whether or not to go for it cost them big time.
Yeah.
So now the decision has been made, and Jeff Wilkins' field goal unit comes on. It'll be a 25-yard attempt. Wilkins missed from 45 yards earlier in the first half. And the Rams do come up with points on the possession. It's an 11-point lead now for Kansas City with 11-12 left.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by the 97 Mitsubishi Eclipse. It makes waves, built for living. By Radio Shack, you've got questions, we've got answers. And by Aetna Retirement Services, built for retirement, managed for life.
As opposed to last Sunday when St. Louis couldn't move the ball, shut out of the end zone. Today they are moving the ball. They're down by 11 to Kansas City, but they've been their own worst enemy, turning it over 4 times as Wilkins kicks out of beauty, taking to Mark Vanham, a run out of the return game. 4th best in the NFL with a 28-yard average, so Kansas City starts 1st and 10 at their own 20-yard line. Jerry Rome, who's worked with so many quarterbacks in the past, worked with Troy Aikman when he came in the league. In fact, thank you, Beasley. Troy Aikman credits Jerry Rome for a lot of the success now from that first year or 2 together.
Jerry Rome has coached a lot of fantastic quarterbacks. He's done a good job everywhere he's played, everywhere he's coached. Was a quarterback himself in the league. That's why he knows so much about it. So Banks is in good hands. Rome is a hard man, too. He'll push you.
Kansas City trying to chew up some clock now. And they chew up the running back on that play. Greg Hill put down for a loss of a yard back at the 19.
Hey, there's so much time left in this game. Rams just need to play the type of defense that they've been playing. Their offense is rolling up and down the field. They're just making mistakes.
It very easily could be an 8-point ball game right now. The first fumble of the day, if you joined us late, Tony Banks was already down, and down for a while. He was spun down. They gave the fumble, though, to Kansas City when he lost it. Kansas City got 3 out of it. Pressure on Gerbach. He eludes it, but it's deflected. Big Bill Johnson in the face of the quarterback.
Todd Light was in good position. He was trying to go to Andre Rison there. Todd Light has been impressive. You know, that's all I can say.
Both their corners have played exceptionally well this year.
Yeah. Here's an isolation look at Todd Light versus Andre Rison. Cat quick, Light stymies him off the line of scrimmage, is in perfect position underneath.
Rison with only 2 catches today. Now, critical 3rd down for the Rams. 3rd and 11. All day for Gerbach. Can he find someone? And overshoots a wide-open Rison, who got away from McNeil. But that was after he had about 5-6 seconds back there.
Honestly, everybody was open. He lost Dawson. Dawson was open over the middle. And then when he picked up Rison out of the corner of his eye at the last minute, it was too late.
Defense did their job. 3 and out with a punt coming up for Kansas City.
Now here's Dawson. It's a cover 2, so the middle of the field is open. And watch Dawson just kind of... Well, I tell you what, Dawson was the wrong guy. I had the wrong receiver, but there was a receiver on the other side that broke right over the middle that was perfectly open.
Aguiar, funny one back to Malcolm Floyd. Did he make the first man miss? No. What a great job downfield for Kansas City by Clyde Johnson, the reserve cornerback. Exceptional play on special teams. 51 yards on the punt by Aguiar.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by Domino's Pizza, delivering 1 million smiles a day. Call for pizza now and share a smile during the game.
In the overall numbers last week, St. Louis was dominated by Seattle. That's not the case, though, this afternoon. In fact, the Rams were on top against one of the best in the AFC.
Everywhere, every category except for turnovers. First downs, everything down the line. So that just shows you the Rams are in this game playing some good football, just shooting themselves in the foot.
Down by 11 with 10:03 left, trying to set up the screen to Lawrence Phillips. Doesn't get the block. John Jarrett, his left guard, couldn't put the block on Wayne Simmons. They recently acquired from the Packers.
This is showtime. And, big number 66, John Jarrett, has got to get that block. This is it. The team needs 2 plays. Quarterback sucks everybody in. You had 2 linemen in position, and John missed the block. This is not the time for that.
Loss of 6, costly, back to the 21. 2nd and 16. Just barely got it off in time to avoid a delay of game. Now the tight end Conwell gets away from the first man. Does a good job to take it out to the 31. Battling Reggie Tongue.
Ernie Conwell is a good football player. Tough kid, described as tough kid with good speed. 6'1", 265, so he's he's like a little tackle out there when it comes to blocking, but you see he has surprisingly soft hands for a man 265.
So now 3rd and 6.
He's a big man.
Amp Lee in the backfield now for St. Louis. Looking for a receiver and throwing it over the head of Torrance Small, who came back to the quarterback instead of going downfield like Banks anticipated. So 3 and out, the last thing the Rams needed with only 8:28 left.
Not bad numbers for the young guy. He hasn't done anything stupid today.
Vanover waiting for the punt from Horan. Back to 25, and they almost get to Horan. Sends it over to the sideline. And it will be placed at the 32. The Chiefs put it back into play. They're in the driver's seat, leading by 11. The NFL season extends to the World Wide Web on NFL.com, the league's official website. You can visit NFL.com for all the scores, stats, including complete roundup, weekend's activities, plus chat live with some of the NFL's biggest stars, like Greg Hill, who's weaving his way. It's all on NFL.com. There's a flag down in the play. Good yardage on first down as Hill takes it near the 37. New York Giants doing a good job once again.
Offside, defensive nose guard. 5-yard penalty. Repeat the down. First down.
Bill Johnson, the guilty party, and I mentioned the New York Giants taking now an 8-point advantage over the Cincinnati Bengals. So the Giants trying to go to 6-3 and would have to be considered one of the biggest surprises in the NFL.
Well, my Giants, I should say the Giants. Hey, look, I spent a couple of days in the hospital for that team. About 7 years.
Danny Hughes, the motion man on 1st and 5. Nothing there for Donnell Bennett. Not much. And with an opportunity, let's check in once again for an update with Greg Gumbel. Greg?
All right, Joel, at Buffalo, don't quite count the Bills out of this one yet. Alex Van Pelt, 31 yards. Quinn Early leaping catch in the end zone with the extra point. The Bills move to within 3 of the Broncos, 20-17, just under 2 minutes to play in regulation, Joel.
Thank you, Greg. You're the backup quarterback. Cadell, Jake Plummer starts today for Arizona. The young men are getting an opportunity. 2nd and 5 still from the 37. The dump off underneath. Chopping down Donnell Bennett. Outstanding play by Toby Wright. But the clock rolling against the St. Louis Rams.
Just a nice, those are very conservative plays. It's very much like a run. That's what I was talking about, tackling low. You young cornerbacks out there. You tackle low, they come right down. Use your shoulder, never your headgear.
Chiefs 4 of 12 on 3rd down opportunities. Only 6.5 minutes left in the game. They've got an 11-point lead. And Bobson couldn't come up with it. So St. Louis will get it back. Toby Wright applying the heat on the tight end.
The defense is doing its part. I mean, the last 2 drives by Kansas City, the defense needed to get them off the field because St. Louis needs a couple of touchdowns. There's Bud Carson, and his guys are doing their thing. They've got their groove on, as the young boys would say.
Back-to-back possessions now for Kansas City with 3 downs and a punt.
What was wrong with that? I got some of the young kids here in the booth laughing at me. Is it swerve on or groove on?
You're groovy enough for all of us up here. Aguiar wobbles one out. Floyd, dangerous play inside the 15. Takes it out of bounds near the 17. Rams running out of chances deep in their own territory when we return. Miller time game summary of the difference. Kansas City has been able to force 4 turnovers, 2 fumbles from Tony Banks. Leslie O'Neal, right spot defensively, 4 sacks. He's got 8 on the season now for St. Louis. St. Louis has been held only 3 points in the second 30 minutes of play as they get it back at their own 17, down by 11. And movement on the offensive front. Left tackle may have lifted up Orlando Pace.
Prior to the snap, false start, number 76 offense. 5 yards, first down.
This is not the time. Not now, Joel. I know the coaches, the Rams coaches are saying, not now, son. There he is, Orlando, the big guy, leaning before the snap.
Well,
and,
58 has a little something to do with it.
Well, still, not now. Not now.
First and 15. Derek Thomas has been setting up on Orlando Pace's side most of the day. Banks finding Amp Lee. He's out to the 23 on the reception.
Banks is having a very productive day, and Amp Lee is just cool. I mean, the way he plays so... there's a certain nonchalance about his play, but his effort is 100%.
No choice. They've got to go no huddle now. Only 2 timeouts remaining for the Rams, 5:55 and counting. And on 2nd and short, he's got Keith Crawford. Crawford got away from Anderson.
Oh, that leg. Did you see the poor kid? Oh. He snapped him down from the back and rolled over his leg. Oh, the poor young man. Keith was a starter last week. Went to school at Howard Payne. You know, whenever a guy is the special teams leader in tackles, you know he's an effort guy. You know he loves football. I mean, you go out on special teams and you lead the way. You love football. Certainly hope he's okay. 6'2", 190 in his 4th year.
Another look back. What a tough customer.
Well, Keith, first of all, Keith benefits from a perfect throw. Another great play by Banks. Super off the line of scrimmage, and listen to the end of this. You actually hear him scream out in pain.
Anderson lands right on the back of the leg. basically, back of the knee.
Oh, I hope he's okay. But what a throw by Tony Banks.
I'm surprised he went over to the bench that quickly. He's a former defensive back with the Packers who was converted to a wide receiver once he got to the NFL. Second season now with the Rams. From the 32, first and 10 St. Louis. They got the big play now going to capitalize. Banks can run. He's going into the end zone for Amp Lee. And there should be a flag, but there isn't one. Anthony Davis in the face of Amp Lee.
That was so close. Amp tried to find a way around the defender. Now, I know the people here in the stadium are calling for a flag. My partner, Joel Myers, is calling for a flag.
Was there contact?
But as an old defensive back and defensive player, let me tell you, the defender has a right to his position.
Without a doubt, there's no contact.
Well, no, there can be incidental contact. What he cannot do is shield the receiver to the point where he has no opportunity. Now, had he raised his hands up and tried to block him out, that would be a penalty.
Banks on a mystery for Torrance Small. He turned in. Banks thought it was going to be a post corner.
Okay, now we got to, the Rams have to regather themselves.
They've got a 3rd and 10 coming up, and that is a huge final score. Philadelphia at 500, now Dallas at 500.
Major.
The Giants hang on. They were up 29-21 on Cincinnati in the 4th quarter. They've got a 2-game lead on both Dallas and Philadelphia. There's that score inside of 2 minutes to play.
In the NFC East, that defeat by Dallas.
They led most of the way against the Eagles. Banks on 3rd and 10. Has time again. Going over the middle. Contact as the receiver stretched out. Mark McMillan on the coverage. Keeping up with Malcolm Floyd.
Well, here's another close play.
Glad you said it.
Well, we have to see the very end of the play. Yeah. Just a little contact. See, McMillan even looked around to make sure.
5-7 and doing the incredible Hulk routine.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Now a huge field goal to draw within 8. Wilkins from 49 yards away. Just inside the upright. And the Rams still have a life. With 5:07 left, a huge field goal by Jeff Wilkins. He missed earlier in the game from 45 yards away. Now he's hit 2 in the second half from 25 and 49 yards out. And that gives the Rams a shot with 5:07 remaining and still 2 timeouts on the board. Only 1 score down.
The Rams are fighting, and Kansas City is allowing a beaten and battered team, emotionally scarred coming into this game, to hang around. And that's not good.
So it's down to 8 with 5:07 remaining. Well, with it all on the line, Cleveland's Omar Vizquel slammed the door on the Marlins.
Bouncing ball toward the hole. Vizquel stops it. Throws from the outfield grass. What a play!
He said it, Bob Costas.
Oh, when I was watching that, I just started screaming.
Great play by the little guy, Vizquel. Game 7. Be with us tonight after the second half of our NFL doubleheader. The ultimate Game 7 of a World Series, the Indians and the Marlins tonight on NBC.
I just started screaming, play baseball, young man. What a play.
Vanover waiting for the Wilkins kick from the 2. And Vanover trying to get to the sideline. Flag down to the play.
Can you believe one of the guys chasing him is Keith Crawford?
Do you believe it? It's amazing. When I saw 81 out there, I did a double take.
And he's limping, but he still probably demanded that he maintain his position on the kickoff team. He's one of my new favorite players.
Number 82 of the return team. 10 yards, first down.
So a penalty putting the Chiefs way back in a hole. And do you know what a coach can do with a player like Keith Crawford as an example?
Yeah.
The intestinal fortitude of a player like that to come back and play hurt. That's what Ernest Biner told us. You remember that a few weeks back. I learned to play hurt early.
And see, look at him. He's the one who forces the play. You see him stumbling and bumbling a little bit. He can't really explode. See how he backs off there? He's still in pain, but they're forcing the play. I I like this guy.
What a heart. First down, Kansas City outside of their own 10. 4:55 left. 8-point lead, Chiefs. Donnell Bennett slamming it straight ahead to the 13. They'll give him close to the 15. And a big pickup of 5. Now can the Chiefs just pick up a couple of first downs?
In trouble. How good does it get? It gets good.
Last 2 possessions, the Chiefs have gone 3 and out with a punt. They've already had 10 penalties today. That's a season high for Kansas City. The counter for Bennett. He hits the crease and he pulls over Rams for a first down to the 13.
Okay, let me make a suggestion, Joe. The Rams need to hit this guy low. You hit somebody that big up high, and they're just going to keep running.
Because it's 6 feet even, 250.
Yeah, what,
fourth year out of Miami.
Well, you going to hit him in the shoulder and knock him down? He's 250. Please. Been bad tackling in the league. Look at that. Arm tackles up high. Ran over one safety. Just, you have to tie a guy's knees and legs up with your shoulder pads when they're that big.
2 straight carries that time. He got 13 of his 19 yards.
Tremendous pressure all game long. A couple of finals, Joe. Philadelphia beat Dallas 13-12. Baltimore beat Washington 20-17. And it looks like Denver and Buffalo might be going to overtime, tied at 20. Probably in overtime right now.
The Rams have used their second time out of the second half. They have 1 remaining. So great expectations now on these 3 snaps. The 2nd and 6 play coming up. Don't forget, second half of our NFL doubleheader coming up next. We were just talking about Game 7 of the World Series later tonight. Most of you are going to see the Raiders taking on the Seattle Seahawks at the Kingdome. Others, the matchup between the Jaguars and the Steelers, or the Colts and the Chargers. Check your local listings for the game in your area. There's some good ones at that. Oakland at Seattle. And Seattle finally over the 500 mark for the first time since the end of the 95 season. While Oakland just tries to get to the 500 mark going into that game at 3-4. 2nd and 6. Bennett hits the hole. He's got another first down to the 35. Jed Popson, great block for the tight end. On that side, the near side for Donnell Bennett. Who's a 2nd-round pick out of Miami back in '94.
Now, this is a tired defense. I think that's a great move by the coaches to call a timeout here. Let these DBs and defensive linemen get a breath, a little water. Because now suddenly here late in the game, Kansas City is able to push them around, something they weren't able to do during the course of the real meat of the contest.
And Kansas City now with, as you mentioned, the possibility of Denver going to overtime, where they had that big lead 20-10 at Buffalo.
Yeah.
Marty Schottenheimer's team, if they would have told Marty after the first 8, how would you like to be tied with Denver at 6-2 in first place in the AFC West, he'd take it, because the AFC West is the only division in the NFL where every team has at least 3 wins or more. It's a tough one. All the scores, they are in overtime, Beasley. Christie hit a 55-yarder to force it.
Play football, boys.
From the 35, first down, Kansas City. Bennett again. The next 2 snaps will tell us more about the outcome of this game. 1 more first down, and it should be over for Kansas City. They should be able to head to the locker room with an 8-point victory.
Well, the Giants advanced to 6-3 by beating Cincinnati.
And now have a 2-game lead in the division.
Go, boys. Go, boys.
Former Giant you. 2nd and 7 for the 38. Gerbach looking downfield. Staying in bounds on the completion short of the first down to the 44. Lyle takes down Derek Walker, the tight end, gets his first catch of the day. Now what a look by Gerbach on the move.
We're approaching
approaching the 2-minute warning. We ran right through it the last time. Let's see if they take a 2-minute warning this time.
The Chiefs are looking, when we come back, at a 3rd and 1. They negotiate that yard, and they will be 6-2 at the halfway point of the season. Another day of growth for Tony Banks, and now on 3rd and yard, the big guy goes over the top. What a leaper. Marcus Allen over the top for the first down, I believe, across the 45. It looked like he got the spot he needed for the 1st and 10. And that should do it.
Well, not so fast, Mr. Myers.
Well,
calling for a measurement here.
They'll bring in the chains.
If it's a 1st down, it's over.
Schottenheimer has a quarterback that is really going to grow up with this team. Elvis Gerbach, who's only in his 5th year. We talked about it at the very top of the telecast. Marcus Allen with that carry, passing Franco Harris, 3rd in the all-time NFL list for carries, 2,950. He's got the bruises to prove it. That smile's always there in the eye, though. Be stopped. St. Louis out of timeouts.
Well, I think the Rams gave a great effort here today. They just turned the ball over too many times. The offense looked improved. The defense was impressive until they were so tired that there was nothing they could do about it.
Chiefs did a good job, certainly, but the Rams, to a certain extent, beat themselves today with the mistakes. 4 turnovers. 2 fumbles by Banks. Couple of interceptions as well. 1 interception, that was a ripping interception, and a fumble as well by Lawrence Phillips when they were driving inside the 25-yard line.
There's your comparison of quarterbacks. Both guys having decent days. Tony Banks statistically with the better day. I think Tony Banks made a few fans around here today and saved himself continued, like that snowballing effect of ridicule, because he really did play a good game. This may signal the maturing of this Rams football team. There's so many young guys, and Marty's team is just good.
And it's not just Tony Banks.
No.
Their entire offensive line, 5 years or less of experience.
Yeah. The center's 2 years. Right guard is 3 years. Tight end is 2 years. The left tackle is a rookie, Orlando Pace.
Andy, the right tackle, only 4 years as well. And Tucker, a rookie, is going to be taking over at left guard in the next few weeks. So the Kansas City Chiefs raise their record to 6-2 with a 28-20 victory over the St. Louis Rams. Coming up next, Game 2 of our NFL doubleheader. Most of you will see Jeff George and the Oakland Raiders taking on the Seattle Seahawks. Others will see Jacksonville going up against the Steelers. More regional action. Game 2 of our doubleheader coming up next. Now for Beasley Reese, I'm Joel Myers. So long from St. Louis. This has been a presentation of the NFL on NBC, the network of the Super Bowl.